quickly into space. Concepcion, blockers in front, and here he goes. KC says TD.
This is 365 Sports.
Final 30 seconds of the quarter. Second down throw to the end zone. Douglas. Touchdown, Texas Tech. What a drive.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Sorsby the keep with a cut. Broken ankles. See ya.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Another first down for Vandy. Pressure off the edge. He steps up, and now he's going to run for the end zone and score. Diego Pavia.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Brown takes another shot. Wide open Koger. Touchdown, South Florida. 63 yards.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
It is the week that the college football playoffs begin. Games coming up this weekend. 4 teams sitting back trying to stay focused and locked in. And there's also, for example, a national championship game in Division II. And there are other playoff games in the other divisions in college football. It's a fun week headed to the holidays. In fact, this weekend with a game in College Station, in fact, just around the corner from us. Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak. Also today, Brandon Rowe and Andrew Valet. Garrett has the day off. He's back tomorrow. Busy day today when it comes to the transfer portal, including this one. Not a surprise that he's in the portal, but Brendan Sorsby, Cincinnati, enters the portal. All sorts of speculation. Could it end up being Lubbock? Where's he going to go? But it's official now that he is in the portal.
Yeah, and this is a huge bummer for Cincinnati. They'll have to dive in and find their own portal quarterback, or maybe they have one on the roster that I haven't thought about or looked at yet. I mean, I probably should have done that already, but just thinking more about where Sorsby could end up, I saw that his girlfriend plays volleyball and she's already transferred to Tech, but you know, sometimes that's not the end-all, be-all, but Texas Tech certainly would be a good fit for him. And before you jump in and say, well, what about Will Hammond? Remember, Texas Tech has no quarterbacks on their current roster who will be available to practice anytime before the fall. And that's if everything goes swimmingly with Will Hammond's knee rehab because he tore his ACL. So they're going to need somebody, and Brendan Sorsby would be a great addition for them if that's the case, or for anybody. There's several places around the country I think he fits their offense really well, and Tech is certainly one of them.
Well, what's up, chat? What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a good day, and hope you had a good weekend. And, yeah, some big news, not just in Cincinnati, but all over the country, it seems like, with portal announcements. And Brendan Sorsby, a big splash to be sure. Now, to be very clear, he's not made a decision on the NFL draft. I think that needs bear mentioning because it's not a foregone conclusion that he's going from Cincinnati to another college. He is still weighing his NFL draft chances and looking at what he could be viewed as far as a pick goes, and I think that'll play heavily into what he decides to do because it is looked to be a pretty weak draft as far as quarterbacks go, and so he could find himself going in the first round maybe, and if so, then why go back and play another year of college? But, yeah, that's still part of the equation here, and then, yeah, if that doesn't shape up the way he would like, then he's clearly got a path in the portal where Texas Tech's a team that's been mentioned quite often already, and Indiana, another team that's been mentioned a couple of times that I've seen. So those seem to be two schools that you can go ahead and pencil in for him, and I would imagine there are some others that will come calling as well if he is open-minded enough, but he's going to have options already and plenty more if he decides to open the doors a little bit further. But I would think he's probably got a pretty good idea already of what he wants to do. And just a real bummer for Cincinnati. Not a surprise, but a bummer nonetheless that you lose this big-time star quarterback who was a big part of the reason why you guys were able to have a bit of a turnaround season. He had some ups and downs himself, but he was still your engine. He was the guy that made you go. And so their backups, and yes, we should look at their backups, and we're going to talk about what they're potentially looking at. I mean, they've got Samaj Jones, a redshirt freshman. They've got Zebulon Kinsey, a freshman. Will Kotcher, a redshirt sophomore. And that's about it. I mean, that's about it. I mean, Brady Lichtenberg's a redshirt senior, so he won't be back for another year. So you've got some young guys and not a lot proven as far as that goes that you could be looking at if you're Scott Satterfield. But, of course, you could also then go to the portal yourself, which is most likely what you would do, and see what else is out there who you might replace Sorsby with. But, yeah, he will not be at Cincinnati, and that's a real bummer for them. And he had a great run there, but I'm not surprised at all to see in this day and age and in this market with all the money being thrown around for big-time quarterbacks, not a shock whatsoever that he's going to see what he can go out there and make and where he can make it.
From Lake Dallas High School. Also, he started at Indiana, and he was replaced by Fernando Mendoza, who won the Heisman Trophy. We'll turn around and get into that a little bit later on.
Rourke. He was by Brendan Rourke.
No, I'm sorry. Brendan York. That's right. Rourke, who has had the great year last year. Mendoza winning the Heisman this year. And we'll get into that, a lot of that, including some of the post-Heisman discussion and reaction to that. So you have Sorsby. I just texted a Texas Tech alum. I said, do you know whether or not his girlfriend is transferring to Tech to play volleyball? And he said, I don't know, but if she needs a job, let me know. So there we are with that.
Well, if she's going to Tech, then, I mean, that would seem like a logical choice. They need a quarterback to start next year, and Will Hammond will come back when he comes back. But I think they'd be foolish to sit there and worry about upsetting him too much if you don't even know when he's going to be back. And I would think he's enough of a team player to be understanding that they need a guy to be there. And who knows how his rehab goes. Not a guarantee that he's going to be October 1st. He's ready to come back. Like, we don't know that. Another team, Tennessee, that I've seen, they're pretty quarterback hungry, and he's a guy with big stats and a lot of intangibles that I think Tennessee fans look at and think would be a fit there in Knoxville. Obviously, Indiana would be a double back to where you were briefly, but in this day and age, is that really all that shocking? Not necessarily, but I don't know. There's a ton of other names out there, so we'll see how it all works out. But, yeah, Tennessee, a second time around at Indiana, Texas Tech. If I had to guess, like just right now, pure guess, I mean, Texas Tech, if the girlfriend thing is true, he's a Texas native, and we know they have the money. That would seem to be a pretty safe choice, a safe bet to make, but he'll have options for sure.
Yeah, you wonder about the options, not only Texas Tech, but what is Indiana looking for next year since he was there before? Well, and, of course, as we've discussed, the NFL options too.
And look, we're going to get to a couple other schools in the next couple of seconds that also I think fit what his talent level is, or what his, not only his talent level, but his skill set of being a dual threat quarterback really kind of fit well. And so, he might be able to, just call up Texas Tech and say, look, it's you guys, just tell me what the number is. And then I can go back to other schools and get more money out of you guys, or whatever, how we do this. His agent can handle all that stuff. Or he can legitimately, like, a lot of these guys will have a lot of places to consider, which I do think is probably maybe the best thing.
And they already know who those places are.
Yeah, they know what the places are. But given the coaching carousel and how things have moved around this year, if I'm a quarterback, unless it's just an absolute home run of a place, like Tech might be, then, yeah, maybe I'm going to go there. But if I'm, especially these next two guys, I'm going to shop around a little bit.
Well, before we mention the next two guys, Craig, he came out of high school from Lake Dallas. He had offers from Abilene Christian, Army, Delaware, Fordham, Lamar, Navy, and A&M Commerce in Western Carolina and Indiana. And, of course, we know who the head coach was in Kurt Cignetti. So he did not have a lot of attention out of high school like others, for example. And here he is now with the entire world in front of him with another year if he wants to play college football.
Yeah, I mean, he left when Cignetti got there, so he didn't get recruited by Cignetti there originally. He left the same offseason that Cignetti was hired, so not sure what kind of a relationship there is, if any, but Cignetti clearly with now the Heisman Trophy winner has got that in his back pocket, and Indiana's success and a lot to sell there in Bloomington, and Sorsby's already been there and lived it a little bit. I'm not sure if he would be interested in going back, but yeah, I mean, Indiana's going to be looking for a quarterback. Let's say that. If it's not him, it's Sam Levitt or it's somebody else that we'll talk about. So yeah, their doors open and they're shopping around and letting it be known in Bloomington as well as in Lubbock to some extent. They're letting it be known because now there's been a couple names thrown out and they're not denying interest. So I think that, in the case of Sam Levitt, maybe they have, but not in the case of a Brennan Sorsby. It's very clear that Tech's at least open-minded enough. And look, this is still the same school that when they had Baron Morton coming back, they were still being talked about or used or whatever for Carson Beck. So they're going to be rumored regardless of how much oomph there actually is to it. But I do think in this case with Hammond's injury, they are looking for a quarterback. So Sorsby would tick a lot of boxes. He's a good player, improved upon his turnover rate this past year, had some pretty nice performances. Not a flawless player by any means, who is at this point in time, but I do think that somebody's going to get a really good quarterback, and I think it's a huge loss for Cincinnati. I think it takes away their identity heading into next year, takes away their biggest star, and leaves them now looking for some answers at the quarterback position.
So then there's Derek Lagway, second year at Florida. Man, the way he ended his freshman year, you thought they were set up for quite a bit, right? And then, of course, Napier's gone. He now is entering the portal, and there are all sorts of names I saw where even Baylor's name, of course, he's a lineage. His dad played at Baylor, LSU, among others. He's going to get whatever he wants. Here's DJ Lagway. He released a statement like Sorsby released a statement about his time in Gainesville. There was a thought that he's going to end up, and he did the first year, save Billy Napier's job. Did not work this year. The best part of Florida's season was their win against Texas in the middle of the year, but he now will be in the portal too.
Very up and down season for DJ Lagway. A lot of turnovers, but he is still just 2 years removed from being one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks that was recruited in that cycle in 2024. He has 2 full years of eligibility remaining. As of today, that rule might change by the end of the week, but 2 more. He's not draft eligible, and he has a ton of potential. My top 5 today is actually on DJ Lagway and the fits for him. Would it shock me completely if he went to James Madison with Billy Napier? No. But given the 2 different things that I've kind of heard, there's a CBS report that, John Summerall and the staff basically asked him, like, who are you? Like, tell us who you are as a football player. And it maybe didn't, he didn't get the reaction he wanted from them, which he doesn't want to be with the new coaching staff, which is certainly his prerogative. But I do think that, based on the fact that Sam Levitt's on his way out of Arizona State, if you want to make yourself better for the draft, because I read 3 different articles with this news drop from different people, and basically the word out of DJ Lagway's camp is that he wants to improve his stock like Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels did when they transferred. Now, Jaden Daniels, the staff that did that, is now dispersed across the country because Brian Kelly's been let go. But if you want to be like Bo Nix, I can tell you where that guy lives. It's in Tempe, Arizona, and they have a need for a quarterback.
And Bo Nix's story from when he left, Georgia, to what he did at Oregon, to now being a part of a hell of a team. Auburn, to Oregon, and on his way now doing pretty well. His year at where he is at Denver with the Broncos. Yeah, that's another ribbon or feather in the cap of what Kenny Dillingham can do.
Yeah, I think if DJ Lagway is even contemplating following Billy Napier anywhere, then that's a moronic decision, and I have a lot less confidence in him bouncing back if that's the kind of thing that he's thinking about at this point in time, because based on when we saw them together this past year, they need to separate and both start fresh and anew and go different directions. I think he could stand to have a new set of eyes and a new set of coaches around him and try to build some of his confidence back up and clear up some of the turnover issues and just get him back to playing his game, because, yeah, it did not look good or work well in Gainesville this past year. Now, there is a relationship there, so I guess if all else fails, then then maybe perhaps they could work something out. But he's just going to have a lot bigger opportunities than JMU and the same coach he's been playing for, where the one coach got fired and now the player's in the transfer portal. So I saw a list that ESPN put out. I mean, Arizona State needs a quarterback now, obviously. So they're in the hunt, and you could do far worse than Kenny Dillingham as far as a quarterback whisperer goes. So that could be effective. I mean, he made Jeff Sims look pretty good there for a few moments in time down the stretch of the season. Baylor with the familial connection makes sense. I mean, that's never ironclad, though. I mean, I think they've struck out on like 10 straight legacies, quite frankly. So if he doesn't roll back to Waco and follow his father's footsteps, then I don't blame him. But if he does, then I think it would make a lot of sense. I think Jake Spavital could do some good work with him, and I think that it would be a lot less pressure probably than what he was facing in Gainesville these past couple of years. And there were a couple of other schools that were mentioned alongside him as well. And I mean, look, it's the same handful of schools that are going to be mentioned with every other quarterback because they all need quarterbacks. But you had Baylor, LSU obviously is there with Lane Kiffin.
He retweeted Pete Nakos's, tweet about DJ Lagway.
Who, Lane Kiffin?
Lane Kiffin did.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now read into that what you will.
I mean, that's just him being a troll and probably also a little bit of truth to the trolling as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, LSU, Clemson with Klubnik moving on, Miami because of course, and then TCU as well. They're losing Josh Hoover, so that would be coming back to Texas and not that different from going to play at Baylor, same type of school, same league. And you have another coach there in Sonny Dykes who's pretty good with the quarterback position. So, yeah, I think all those options make a lot of sense for him. I think he's got a lot of untapped talent, and it was just a really rough year. And with the right coaching, the right situation, I think he could turn more towards being that 5-star caliber player that he was coming out of high school and coming out of Willis. So excited to see where he goes.
Yeah, that's an interesting move. And again, not surprising that the 3 names, Sorsby, Lagway, and this one too, Dylan Raiola. Everyone knows I'm a lifelong Huskers fan. I also have been PTSD'd a lot. This doesn't bother me. It's not against Dylan Raiola. When I heard all about him and I saw some film when he was at Buford High School in Georgia, he's a very good player, highly rated player, obviously lineage with Nebraska. But one of the things that surprised me, and he had no protection much when it comes to the offensive line, was he wasn't as mobile, or at least to me, a little bit more athletic than I thought. Really good thrower, can pass it, does a lot of things. But he needs probably new direction and hopefully some time to throw the football in Nebraska. I think Nebraska needs to move to a guy that's got some grit. Not that you don't want a 5-star guy, but somebody that's got a little grit to him, kind of a tough guy, kind of like Iowa's quarterback when he came from South Dakota State. But Raiola hits the portal. By the way, he was born in Hawaii, was from Arizona. Remember? At Chandler High School, and you wonder about any connection with Arizona State there.
Well, and look, that wouldn't surprise me either. And I think any quarterback who plays for Kenny Dillingham is making a great career decision. But Dylan Raiola is also a guy who likes to be chased. Let's just and thank you to Yahoo Sports for posting this because I knew all this. I just needed somebody to put it in a succinct timeline. In 2021, he was here in Texas, about 90 miles from where we're sitting right now, about 75 miles. Burleson High School, he was there. And then in 2021 and 2022, he went to Chandler High School, where he committed to Ohio State and then decommitted from Ohio State. Mm-hmm. He went to Pinnacle High School in Arizona, committed to Georgia, then went to Buford High School in Georgia, decommitted from Georgia, signed with Nebraska, has been there the last 2 seasons, and now he's in the portal. So he does feel to me like one of those guys who maybe likes the recruiting a little bit more than some do, because there are those guys. Now, he is a very, very, very talented player, and maybe Nebraska was not the perfect place for him. And he's very well connected, as we know, throughout the quarterback and football world. So he'll likely wind up in a really good spot for him. But I do think some stability is more than what he needs. He also needs to find his own identity as well.
I agree on that part. I can't believe he's going to end up wanting to tear his knee because Patrick Mahomes has an ACL either. That's going to be a little bit interesting how that happens. Craig?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he woke up and just started limping naturally based on his previous – I mean, that's all very weird. Like, we all have acknowledged, like, his Patrick Mahomes copycatting is like – it went a step too far to the point of just being kind of weird. So you saw all the jokes about him going to Texas Tech, and look, they do need a quarterback, but that's not going to be the spot for him. So thank God for that, because that would have just been even weirder somehow for him to truly follow in Patrick Mahomes' footsteps after basically mimicking him for the last 2 years in haircut, walk, sunglasses, like every single thing. Basically, it's kind of bizarre. But I won't dwell on that too much further. He's flaky. I mean, as far as like sitting and being in one spot, 3 different high schools, you're now in your 3rd different college, multiple commitments. I don't know what to make of him other than I see some of the things that people like about his game, and then I see a lot of things when I watch him where it's just very frustrating, and I feel like he's incredibly overrated to some degree, but I don't know if that's the offense he's playing in that's not a great fit, or the coaching that he's received, or what the case may be. But right now he's more on track to be a bust than he is to be some great big-time star, and he has a chance now to make a decision to put him back on that pathway towards being that big-time star that lives up to that 5-star rating. Again, Miami makes a lot of sense. Arizona State, I'm not sure, but look, it's all the same schools. They all the schools that need quarterbacks, and all the schools that lost quarterbacks now really need quarterbacks. So you can go ahead and pencil in like the same 5 to 10 schools that DJ Lagway will be looked at for, and Sam Levitt will be looked at for, and obviously they won't all be looked at for the same spots because there are some differences in the offenses and the personalities and things. But I mean, yeah, you can basically throw out the same number of schools and say, yeah, these could be options for him. But yeah, he's got talent, and that's going to be attractive to somebody, but he's going to have to go out there and prove it, man. Like, I do feel like he's basically just been a dude living off the 5-star rating for his college career so far. And he's had, again, some flashes here and there, but Nebraska, especially like when his uncle got fired and then his brother's decommitting, and like the writing was on the wall there these last few weeks, and we had an indication this was happening a couple weeks ago. So it's just now becoming official, and so he's had a lot of time, I'm sure, to get his ducks in a row, and probably already has a game plan set up on where they're going to go and look. But yeah, it's another interesting name. Like, it's another interesting name to throw in the bag and see what happens and how those dominoes fall this offseason of the quarterback carousel.
And just for clarity, for anybody who's watching, which I know our Texas Tech fans know this already, but if you said, well, like when Craig said, well, he's not going to Texas Tech, why would that be? Well, those two staffs are they're tight. They're bros.
Oh, Joey and Matt Rule?
Joey and Matt are tight. Now, if it was one of those things where Dylan wanted to go to Tech, and Matt called Joey and said, "Yeah, do whatever you want. I don't care." Like I would understand that. But they're very tied at the hip, professionally and personally, Joey and Matt. So I just don't think that that's a thing they're going to do. Plus, I don't think where Raiola is and where Tech is, as opposed, like Tech is looking to repeat what they just did a year ago. Raiola is looking to maybe develop. So Tech's transfer quarterback, a guy like Sorsby, makes a whole lot more sense to me than a guy like Raiola.
Yeah, I'm just focused more on Sorsby for them, or even a Sam Levitt before a Dylan Raiola. So, I mean, it's not 100% that he wouldn't go to Tech, but I assume that won't be the case, and maybe wrongfully, and if so, then I'll own that. But I don't see him going from Matt Rule to Joey McGuire. And I just don't want to see him totally copying Patrick Mahomes his entire life, basically, and now going to Texas Tech.
That's exactly
I mean,
right.
It's just weird. It's weird, and I'm not trying to dwell on it or make fun of the guy, but I find that would be like a step even farther into the weirdness of his fandom. So maybe that's what's playing into me when I say that he's not going to Tech, but maybe it's just wishful thinking on my part.
A lot of stuff in the chat, by the way. Conundrum asked me who I voted for the Heisman. We'll have that actually in the early segment of the 4 o'clock hour, since that now is official. And I will say this, even though the standards are no longer anywhere near what they once were in Lincoln, Raiola did lead Nebraska back to a bowl game, in fact, back-to-back winning seasons, which better not be the standard, but at least it's better than what it was the last 10 years.
And I do believe NACO's had something about Tech not being interested in Raiola that I had read earlier as well. So that's partially where that's coming from, in addition to just like it's too obvious it'd be strange. But, yeah, I want to say that NACO's was the one that I saw earlier about Raiola and Tech. So correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it does seem like Tech's in the mix, obviously, and they're being used as a bargaining chip, but I think they also just really need a quarterback to replace Hammond while he's injured. So Levitt, I saw that kind of get shot down. Sorsby, haven't seen that get shot down. And then Raiola, again, if I'm remembering correctly, I think Nako's kind of punched some holes in that. So it would seem to be Sorsby to Tech is one to kind of maybe place your chips on. But they clearly look like they're going to go grab a guy. And, LSU is another one of those schools that you throw in there. And Cincinnati's going to now be looking for a quarterback. We got done with the coaching carousel. Now it's the quarterback carousel time. Yeah. That's what we're in now.
Speaking of the coaching carousel, a couple of nuggets, one on a defensive coordinator, and then we'll get into some what was said by some or discussed by some coaches around the country and how it affects perhaps what Michigan wants, which is, well, you hope for them clarity and a lot of look inside your soul, and, of course, even Alabama, etc. Kansas State defensive coordinator Joe Klanderman. He is now the defensive coordinator. This was announced on Thursday. He's the defensive coordinator now for Dave Aranda. I was at the presser. Aranda is saying that he will have all of Klanderman, the decision-making. Of course, when it comes to recruiting players, etc., it's kind of a group effort. Here was Klanderman, and he did mention how much he loved his time with Chris Kleiman and how much it meant to him at North Dakota State and then at Kansas State. But he was asked about the defense. And after the COVID year, K-State struggled that year, and they had to decide what were they going to do on defense. And here's his answer.
And myself sat down and said, is what we're doing really right for the Big 12? At that time, the Big 12 was a little bit different offensively, and there, was a wide open RPO all over the place. And the teams that were having success at that time on defense were Baylor back then and Iowa State. And the common denominator was they were 3 high safety teams. And so we kind of jumped into that world. I shouldn't say kind of. We jumped into that world with both feet. Not knowing anything about that. There's nothing in my history, and nobody came in and said, this is how you do it. It was just grinding tape and trial and error and, things I mentioned before. We did that up until this past season. And this season we went back for a number of reasons. Number one is I think the Big 12 is shifting a little bit, and a lot of people have kind of caught on to that 3 high safety thing. And, since then it was, it was kind of a shock value. But since then, Cincinnati's doing it, and Oklahoma State's doing it. And so, it's something you see more weekly. But the other reason was, recruiting-wise, I think it's hard to recruit really talented, even though we did an all right job with it. It's hard to recruit really talented defensive linemen into that. Nobody wants to go be a 4-eye, people want to rush and people want to do stuff. So it helped with that. And we had talent on the D-line. So we wanted to get as many of those people out there as we could. So went back and got back into the 4-down world. And I think, in my evaluation, I didn't think we were great on defense there this year relative to what we were used to, but we did get a lot better as the year went on. And I think what I learned was how to install it, how to make it simpler for players, I worked out a lot of the bugs, I guess is what I'm trying to say, so that, if we go down that road again, I know exactly how to do it and how to present it better, so that we can expedite the process of getting better quick, because Auburn's just around the corner.
Auburn is just around the corner. One note, by the way, on the Baylor schedule that has been known, SMU, because they're going to 9 games in the ACC, is going to play the Baylor game down the road after playing at home this year in Dallas. And Baylor's replaced that game with a team that they had scheduled, and then they had to play, was it Albany or was it, the other school up in the Northeast that when SMU had to back out of a game, or had Louisiana Tech had to back out of a game. This one is part of that, getting that game back, and they will do that. There we are with that. Now, some other good coaching news. This one here. Chris Kleiman, Morgan Scalley is now, and this was when Kyle Whittingham announced that the game with Nebraska, the bowl game, would be his last game. It kicked in because Morgan Scalley's been that coach in waiting, head coach in waiting. He now is officially the head coach at Utah.
Yeah, and this was, known that, I know there was a couple, it's expected to be Morgan Scalley, so just in case they had changed their mind at any point before Kyle Whittingham stepped aside there at Utah, which he did. I've still been thinking about, he said he's not retired, but it was just time for him to go there at Utah. But, yeah, this is going to be interesting. It's going to be pretty much the same. I don't think much will change there. They're still going to have the same styles. They still got a really heck of a team potentially coming back to them. And I'm excited to see what Morgan Scalley can do as head coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still kind of weird to see Kyle Whittingham not on the sidelines of Utah football anymore. It will be strange when we see that next year. Obviously, he'll coach out the bowl game, and then it'll be Scalley's time at the wheel. And this had to happen eventually, or else Morgan Scalley was probably going to pick up and go somewhere else because he's been waiting a while, and the clock was feeling like it was kind of ticking. And so whatever came to pass to where Whittingham decided this was the time, this was the logical choice as planned out previously. And did take a couple days, and you made you wonder a little bit about whether there were some second thoughts or whether they were going to maybe go a different direction or what. But ultimately, we got to where we thought we would be in the first place, and so it's now his program officially. And I guess after the bowl, we'll have the full reins of it. But yeah, I mean, he's been the guy locked in for a while now, and is a really good defensive coach. They had some struggles, especially against the run this year, that they're going to have to get better at moving forward, and for their bowl game in particular. But he's tried and true and proven, and a guy who knows Utah through and through. So I think it's what we expected, but it's just still interesting to see it happen because we speculated about Kyle Whittingham, and we speculated about some of these other coaches, and it looked like the Big 12 was going to remain relatively unscathed. And then you have Kleiman retiring and Whittingham's retiring, and Campbell's getting hired by Penn State as like the 10th choice. And it all just kind of unfolded in a couple of weeks' time. Nothing to a whole bunch of stuff happening all in that league. So I do think to sit there and think, oh, he knows the deal, he'll just slide in, would be foolish, because there's a lot of difference when you're sitting there and you're actually the one in the heat of the battle making the calls and making the final choices on things. So we'll see how he does with that, but he's got a ton of experience. They believe in him, obviously. He was handpicked, and if anybody can kind of keep the Whittingham style going, it would be Morgan Scalley. So I don't know that it'll just be seamless, but it will be new, and it will be fun to see somebody else on that sideline for the first time in a really long time.
Kleiman and Whittingham both are retiring. And then Matt Campbell poached by the Big Ten. They take a team or a coach from the Big 12 that otherwise people think is not or below the Big Ten of the SEC. So that was pretty cool and good for Iowa State.
Well,
but
Whittingham's not retiring as far as he said so far.
I saw that little stat when I was on the beach. I saw a couple of notes about how that still may not be it for him, but he's leaving.
It just makes Utah. It sound weird when he's saying that, and then it feels like pushing him out of the chair and saying, all right, we got to get Scalley in here because he's been waiting a while. So I don't know how all of that unfolded. I know that some Utah fans took issue with some of the reporting. Like I think it was Stuart Mandel that mentioned that Whittingham wasn't retiring, and a bunch of people were pissed about him putting that out there. So I don't know what's true or not. I mean, they're pissed because they don't want it to feel like he's being pushed out and that he would go somewhere else, that he needs to retire a Ute, and I understand that. So we'll see if that's what happens or not. I'm not sure how much demand there is for him to go slide in and be a head coach somewhere brand new. But Morgan Scalley will have his hands full because Whittingham was massively successful. And, you know, it's not like he won a bunch of national titles and a ton of Rose Bowls, but just getting there and making appearances and navigating all the realignment they went through, they wouldn't be where they are without Kyle Whittingham. So this is gonna be different, as close to home as Scalley's hire may be.
He not all the interim head coaches in waiting doesn't always work out. This one did. And you think Utah was going to blow up Nebraska, which they will. They'll now, with the emotions of Whittingham's last game with Utah, that could be a 55-7 game. Who knows? Now, then there's Kenny Dillingham. Of course, his name comes up all the time because he's a hell of a young, good coach and someone that's respected throughout the country. What he's done at Arizona State. He was asked over the weekend about Arizona State and why his name attached to Michigan. I'm sure if DeBoer was to leave, it'd be attached to Alabama, and we'll have a note on that. Why is it that ASU is so important and how much it means to him.
Love this place. Like I said, Is that a long enough pause? But this place is it's a special place to me.
It is for him. And boy, the Big 12 coaches with Kleiman, with a couple of times in post game, and then of course others, including now Whittingham. The emotions you see, it does appear, and we've heard about. His entire family lives within a block of him, if not next door, and that's great news for Arizona State. Nobody said it's over. He didn't. But it's a great thing for Arizona State the way he feels about that campus in that area.
Yeah, I think it is, and we had our buddy Kim Coulter reaching out, saying, I told y'all. And thing is about it is I don't care how much he cries and how much he says he loves Arizona State. It's still coaching. It's still college football coaching. And so you can't just stamp out the speculation with the snap of a finger. If there's a good coach out there, he's going to be rumored for good jobs. Yep. So I think what Kenny Dillingham did is he did pour water on any thoughts that maybe he would be interested in Michigan. But that's not going to stop people from saying, hey, if Michigan wants to hire the best football coach possible, who should they go after? Well, they should go at least look at Kenny Dillingham, right? Like, no matter if he says no matter if he's crying buckets of tears, like, you make him tell you no because you want to hire the best coach possible. Like, that's you doing your job as an athletic director. So I think it's one thing to mention him as a possibility. It's another thing to sit there and say, like, he's interested. I think he clearly sent the message that he's not interested. And I think he clearly sent the message that he loves Arizona State and that's where he wants to be. And so now the onus is on Arizona State to keep him happy, because you can love somewhere a lot, but ultimately you are a competitor. And if you have jobs offering you gobs of money and gobs of NIL, you can love the place all you want to, but eventually they got to hold up their end of the bargain and not just play on your emotions and get a sweetheart deal as a result of that. Now, they've invested heavily in his program, but they're going to have to continue to do that. And if they want to be playing at a top level, they're going to have to find new ways to continue to do that. So that's the thing for me is I don't believe that he wants to leave Arizona State. I don't believe he has interest in Michigan, but I do believe it's imperative that Arizona State keeps him happy, or else it doesn't matter how much you love somewhere. If you are a competitor, like he very clearly is, you want to have the best team possible. And so he's pleaded with local businesses. He's sent all of the messages out there, and he's now tripled down on how much he loves it there, how close his family is. They live around him on the same block, next door, whatever. And those emotions, I mean, you very rarely, if ever, see a college coach not after like some massive loss. Like the last time we saw a guy cry like that, it was Kleiman, and he retired 2 weeks later. So you very rarely see emotions like that. And clearly this has been weighing on Kenny Dillingham. So I'm glad that he addressed it. I'm glad that he hopefully made Arizona State fans feel good. But again, there's going to come a point. He may not have any plans for the next 5 years because he wants his kids to grow up or whatever. But ultimately, if you want him to be like your legendary, never go anywhere guy, you're going to have to pony up time and time again. And you're like, well, how much? And then we like, no, like continuously. Like if you want this program to be what it can be.
The market tells you how much.
The market will tell you how much.
Not
and like,
Kenny, the market.
Yeah. So this is Arizona State's chance where they got very fortunate to have a homegrown guy who's a great football coach who wants to be there as opposed to going and being at the bigger school. And so they're looking at reworking his contract. They were going to reward him that way. I'm sure they'll address the staff with that as well. But, yeah, they'll need to pony up NIL and just keep them competitive. And it's like Kim said in the text of, well, they'll be competitive for years. And I said, yeah, if they invest like BYU and Texas Tech are, because BYU's made a massive move this offseason. Texas Tech made their massive move last offseason. And those two have the money in order and the trajectory on the right pathway right now. So I think Arizona State can be in that club, but they're going to have their donors pony up the way that the donors of those other two places did as well.
Yeah, it's just not a couple of years. It's not also getting a Sam Levitt or what Dillingham has done. It's just you're going to have this is a full service type of thing in college football. You got to do it every day. If you drop your head and blink or burp or whatever, you could find yourself a little bit behind.
That's the thing is that's the only reason I would see him leaving is because he doesn't get the support. And so that's where I'm coming from with that is because, he clearly wants to be there. He clearly loves it there. And that's all great news. But he's also a competitor. So keep him happy. And you've got your guy who you can retire one day as your legendary head coach in my mind. But it's an ever-evolving sport. And there will never be a shortage of – I don't care how many times he cries or screams and yells that he loves Arizona State. That's not going to stop people from coming after him to at least gauge his interest. And that's going to happen every offseason. So Michigan would be doing itself a disservice to not at least look that direction no matter what Kenny Dillingham says.
Yeah, I will still maintain I'm not sure Michigan's smart enough to hire Kenny Dillingham.
I just don't think he's the right fit right now.
I don't think he's right, and I don't think it's the right fit for him right now. They've got an emotional issue that's going on there, and they need somebody that maybe. I mean, there's a lot of issues. Emotional,
I just think he's a little too young. He's a little too
and going in there when the AD is probably going to get fired. I don't know. Maybe not. I mean,
it all depends.
They're investigating. I don't know how you hire a head coach while you're investigating the AD. It's going to be hard.
You know what they need, Paul, Greg? They need an autopsy.
Yeah, they absolutely
need
do.
An absolute forensics expert.
So it's probably not the right time for a guy like Kenny Dillingham to step in there. But, yeah, I agree with you, Craig. Everybody should be calling Kenny Dillingham as long as he's a successful coach.
Yeah, that's all my point is that if I had a head coaching job open, I would call Kenny Dillingham. I don't care where it is. I don't care what it is. I would call Kenny Dillingham. So I think Michigan would be doing itself a disservice if they don't, unless they've just got some big fish that's already tied up like Jetfish or someone along those lines. But, yeah, I mean, I think that's a great thing to see if you're an Arizona State fan. Again, you just got to keep him happy, give him what he wants, and he's yours. So don't fumble the bag, so to speak, because you definitely got the bag in hand with one hell of a young head coach right now and a guy who's willing to turn down potential interest from a place like Michigan to stay where he is. It just speaks volumes about that connection that they have there. So.
I always have thought Arizona State is a sleeping giant. Now they've awakened. Now can they continue to go and do what they want to do. Bracket Cat, the Dragon, nailed this when he's trying to pull a Sataki to activate the Valley. A couple of super chats from Kim Coulter. We'll get to those on this discussion in just a moment. And then there's Kalen DeBoer. His name pops up. Alabama after Washington. He released a statement, and his AD, Greg Byrne, also reiterated, we're proud to have him leading our football program at Alabama. An incredible coach, and there you see the statement from Kalen DeBoer as the Alabama football coach to at least, it appears. His name was like the first one I saw when the story came out about the head coach and Sharon Moore. So there we are with Kalen DeBoer saying, nope, I'm staying at Alabama. And I got to tell you, there aren't many that's better than that. There's not many that are better unless you just can't. And if you can't handle, and I'm not saying that's what people have, some people have said, well, it's Alabama's. What's Michigan or Ohio State or Texas? They're all pretty much the same when it comes to what people expect and demand. I love the fact. I hope he does stay at Alabama.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I still just find it strange. This is like the second job he's had to outright publicly say that he's not interested in. He's at freaking Alabama.
I know.
Like, so you're saying all this, and yet he's like, no, I'm not interested in Penn State. I haven't had any discussions with Penn State. No, I'm not interested in Michigan. I haven't had any discussions with Michigan. So I don't know, man. It's gnawing at me that he's having to even make a statement whatsoever. I just feel like clearly he's not 110% in Tuscaloosa. Like there's at least a percentage of him that at least is leaving this door cracked open to where we're even speculating about this, because I may be wrong. I didn't follow Saban like he was the savior and his every move and all that, but I don't recall him ever having to be like, no, I'm not interested in such and such. And because you didn't ask, because you knew, why would he be? Like, why would he be interested in that job? Now, maybe he did. Maybe there were some jobs I'm just not thinking of. But Kalen DeBoer's not even done with year 2, and he's already had multiple jobs that he's been like, nope, I'm not interested in that. I just find that bizarre. I find that strange. But, it's good for Alabama to see him at least put the kibosh on it publicly and officially. And he was on the radio, I think. Maybe it was WJOX. But he was talking somewhere this morning, and I believe it was Pat Smith passed along that he was straight up asked, like, will you be the head coach at Alabama next year? And his answer was yes. But again, why are we asking him to, like, you wouldn't feel the need to ask the Alabama head coach that type of a question normally, but you're having to ask him about all these different jobs. And I just find that strange, and I can't shake that.
I wonder if, sometimes it's the agent.
His agent's Jimmy Sexton.
I know. And he's like the Scott Boras of college football. And
but what are you leveraging though? You're at Alabama.
I have no idea why you would want to leave Alabama unless they fired you.
Hey, look, you got a conference commissioner that just scammed you guys into the playoffs. This is a way better deal than you could ever imagine.
And you can go to Michigan. You don't even know it's there yet.
Okay, we're also glossing over a point of, another playoff coach left his team for another team. In a conference rival in Lane Kiffin. It didn't play well, and I don't think Kalen DeBoer quite has the Lane Kiffin buttons to do that. So I just think preparing for a playoff game right now at Alabama, why is this even a discussion?
Yeah, he said he wants to focus on Oklahoma, and as you can imagine, they play Friday.
He's 0-2 against them, so he better.
Yeah, he's 0-2, and it's a big playoff game, and Alabama doesn't need to be exiting in the first round. That would not be a good look, especially when they were one of those that was kind of a judgment call there. But yeah, I don't know. I just find that interesting that he's in as premier of a job. Now, some would say maybe the LSU job's slightly better, or maybe the Michigan job's slightly better or something. Maybe there's that. But I just do find it just interesting that you have the Alabama head coach being mentioned for a couple of different Big Ten jobs now. And it just makes me wonder if there's something there that we're not quite pinpointing, that he's not long for Alabama, right? Or something. Or maybe it's just, you're just throwing his name in there because it's the biggest fish possible. And that could very well be it, that just Michigan's throwing out the biggest name, or Penn State's throwing out the biggest name, or just the reporters are throwing out the biggest name. And so he would apply there. But he's all in on Alabama, regardless of the speculation. And that's good news for them. And well, he damn sure better be, because again, they play in 4 days. So he really does need to be locked in for this Oklahoma team they've got coming up, since they do seem to have his number of late.
And then there's this story. John Sumrall, of course, now at Florida after a really nice run at Tulane. And then he turns around and makes a gift of $100,000 back to Tulane to support the coach, Coach Hall, and, of course, the Green Wave Talent Fund. Now, you may say, and first of all, you didn't have to do it. It's like guys don't have to put up a full-page ad in the newspaper. A lot of them do, the ones that, it's really classy. This is really cool picture of he and his family with Tulane, all that stuff before he's now in Gainesville, Florida, and good for him for taking $100,000 towards Tulane.
Yeah, that's great. It's a nice gesture, and giving a little back for what they gave to him. So I think that's cool. And if you do the newspaper ad or you do the donation or whatever, just to wish your former school well, you never know when it could circle back again and you fail at Florida. Next thing you know, you're begging for the Tulane job back or something like that. I think he'll have some success, and that won't be the case for him. But we thought Billy Napier would have success, didn't we? And look at him now. He's the head coach of James Madison. So, he seemed to have a good time there. They obviously had a lot of success, and the least you could do is to just say thanks and wish everybody well. So, yeah, that's cool.
And then Alonzo Carter, Arizona State assistant head coach, part of the Big 12, is headed to to replace Brendan Marion at Sacramento State. Deal has maybe by now it has been finalized, the fourth head coach they've had in 4 years.
Yeah, and they're trying to play with the big boys at Sac State. You'll be able to do that when you can keep a coach for a little while. So for their sake, I hope Alonzo Carter stays for a couple of years. And for Alonzo Carter's sake, I hope that he does a great job at Sacramento State. Like right now, it feels to me a little bit the Sacramento State, and I applaud them trying. I think that they're still not immune to, okay, they went out and got Brendan Marion, who is at UNLV in 2024 to come be their head coach. And he was an outstanding offensive coordinator, and he is going to be a head coach again soon. But then when Colorado comes calling and you're Brendan Marion, are you supposed to stay at Sac State? No, you still can't do that, no matter how much money they say they've got in the coffers for, support for the football program.
It does make all of the offseason hype a little goofy, though, when you tout like, oh, we've got Shaquille O'Neal's making personnel decisions, and we are hiring Michael Bibby as basketball coach, and we're hiring Brendan Marion as football coach, and then he leaves less than a year later to take an OC job. Like that's not quite what you pumped it up to be necessarily. So, that's the former home of Cam Scattaboo, old Sacramento State, and they've clearly got some money, and they've clearly got some some vision of the future, and they've clearly got some people that want to push this thing as far as it can go. But yeah, it's a bummer to see your head coach, who was a pretty big signee at the time, leave less than a year later. But I see a lot of really positive responses to Alonzo Carter. He was very well liked from all indications at Arizona, and it's considered a pretty significant loss for them. So I think that bodes well if you're a Sacramento State fan, seeing the Wildcats fans who are wishing him well and wishing he would stick around because they enjoyed what he did and how he did it. So it seems to be, from that standpoint, a really good hire for them. And it's definitely not as flashy as Brendan Marion was, but they don't need flash. They need some substance.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you build things up. You don't do it through off-season headlines and things like that. That can only take you so far. As we saw with Brendan Marion, it took him a season, and then he was already gone. So hopefully Alonzo Carter's a guy that can really put some stakes in the ground and build that thing up and build it into what it needs to be to try to get where they want to go.
So all of that is going on from some three big names when it comes to the transfer portal with quarterbacks, and more to come. A little bit later on, we're going to look at the Big 12 and that private equity discussion with Weatherford Capital and also Redbird. A couple of quotes from Drew Weatherford, former Florida State football player and quarterback, on that. Then there was the Heisman Trophy. Brandon, let's break here. We'll come back and look back at the Heisman Trophy, break down some of the voting, my ballot, but also some of what happened involving Diego Pavia, the Vanderbilt quarterback, who was obviously coming off yet another hellacious year with the Commodores. This is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. So much attention now on low T. Testosterone level in men, 1 out of every 3 or 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. The low T, they're offering replacement therapy for that. Low T, here are the symptoms, by the way: fatigue, loss of energy, poor sexual performance, ED, loss of even sexual interest, decreased muscle mass and strength, weight gain, excess body fat, depressed mood, moodiness, poor sleep, insomnia, and poor mental focus. It happens, and all of it, and some of it, and 1 out of every 3 or 4 men have symptomatic issues like that of low testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Tell them I sent you, and they will then get in touch with you and set you up to get your blood work, pay for that appointment, get the results, and then if your testosterone level is too low, Dr. Petty will put you in a program or give you that option to be a part of that program so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be at PettyClinicLowT.com.
Batteries Plus has teamed up with the Dallas Cowboys as the team's official battery recycling partner. Batteries Plus doesn't just sell batteries, they recycle them too. Customers can bring in all-lithium batteries from power tools, power banks, and small electronics for a chance to win Cowboys tickets, a VIP experience, and more at qualifying locations. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
My go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
You have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customization. And of course, online at golfballs.com.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than H-E-B with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco. Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin. And you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
It's football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game, poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Got floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
We will have Phil Bennett at about 5 o'clock. He'll come in and discuss a lot of things, college football, some of the coaching moves or those who are staying put, his thoughts about Baylor's new defensive coordinator, and the upcoming college football playoff first-round games, the 4 of them around the country. And then there was the Heisman Trophy. Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback at Indiana, number 1 in the country, beat Ohio State to win the Big Ten title, wins the Heisman Trophy. And as a voter, we'll get to my ballot in a second, but there were a lot of stories, even a lot of just speculation that this was going to be a bang-bang close vote, which it was not. There's the voting. It was a landslide for Fernando Mendoza, 643 first-place votes to 189, 2,362 total points to 1,435. It was a landslide. I was a little bit surprised by that. But Mendoza, what a year he's had for Indiana, and wins the Heisman.
Yeah, and he had a lot of things working for him. He had a really great year. He's the best player he's the quarterback on the best team currently. That always is a nice little, it's like the electoral bump in your own state kind of a thing. Like, you're going to get 10% more of the vote than you would have, in the state that borders you, just because you're on the best team, right? So you're popular among the college football voters because, heck yeah, I mean, we've been following you. Your team is now 13-0 for sure, and there's not too many. And look, if I got down to it, like my vote would have been, and Craig and I talked about this, I think we were both in agreement, we would have given Pavia our first place votes just because we thought, like statistics and all that balanced out, and leading Vanderbilt to what he did the last couple of years, like overall, that would have been my vote. But also, like, there's nothing, if I sat down and had to do this for real like you did, Smokey, I would have, my hardest thing is, okay, how do you take away something from Fernando Mendoza to make it to where you have to put him in second place. So I can, and like for the top three guys, for Love, for Pavia, and for Mendoza, it's really hard to take anything out of their, well, this is better than that, this is better than that. Now, Julian saying, I can think like, wasn't quite spectacular yet, but he's going to be. And so it's one of those things where I think he's going to be fantastic. Jacob Rodriguez would have been my fourth place guy. And again, he had a ton of first place votes. So, for a linebacker, especially more than Julian Sayin did. But I think that when you look at it overall, I can see how you can't really take too many, things out of the jar of Fernando Mendoza and be like, well, he shouldn't have won it because of this.
I mean, I think there's a couple guys that had great cases, and it's a matter of what your preference was, and there's no taking away from Fernando Mendoza to crown Pavia or vice versa. But I do think that they made a good call with Mendoza, and especially in light of how Pavia acted afterward. I think that those who voted for Mendoza, if they were tweeners in any way, were justified in eventually going with Indiana's first ever Heisman winner, which is a cool thing to see and a cool thing to be able to say. And what a year in Bloomington, what a couple years it's been, but back-to-back playoff trips, number one team in the country, Big Ten champs, now Heisman Trophy winner. I don't know if this is more signs of the playing field evening out due to NIL and all of the rules changes, or if this is just kind of a one in a million type of scenario where you hit the right coach at the right place at the right time with the right portal quarterback and you made all this magic happen. But it's a cool story and one that we never could have predicted 2 or 3 years ago. So if it is a sign of the times, then get used to first-time Heisman winners, I guess, at a lot of different schools potentially. But very cool that it's not just kind of your standard, and neither would have Diego Pavia been the standard either. I mean, not like Vanderbilt's reeling off Heisman winners, so it was a very unique class in that way where the top two guys were very clearly not from your traditional blue bloods. I don't know why Jacob Rodriguez didn't get invited, but Julian Sayin did. Based on the voting, you could have very easily have invited Rodriguez, and I don't think anybody would have batted much of an eye. Or you could have just left Julian Sayin off and just invited 3 guys to New York. So I'm not sure what went into that choice, but they could have just as easily had 5 or 3, and I don't think anybody would have blinked twice about it because it was basically a 2-man race. And really, it wasn't much of a race there either because Mendoza won going away so easily. So it was a lot more of a blowout than I anticipated. I thought Mendoza would win, but I didn't think he would be that lopsided like it was. But it was, and so congratulations to him. And he had the awkward post Big Ten game interview, or what, I guess that might have been that game. And it was kind of funny, but dude killed his speech. Seems like a great teammate. Seems like a hell of a leader. And obviously he's a great quarterback. So I think he'll represent the Heisman Trust very well. And I think he's very deserving of this award. And I think it's just really cool and unique to see Indiana hoisting the Heisman Trophy over guys from Ohio State and Notre Dame and elsewhere. But if I did have one drawback, I would have liked to have seen Jacob Rodriguez be in attendance. I think that would have been cool to see him get honored in that way. But I mean, even having him in the mix along with a guy from Vanderbilt and along with a guy from Indiana, again, that's just a sign of the times that we're living in. I don't know if the Heisman will be like this every year with that kind of a random assortment of talent from all over the place, but maybe it will be. Maybe this is part of the just the way the game works nowadays is these random schools popping up Heisman winners on occasion.
Well, it's sign of the transfer portal. You wrote in a note to us kind of overviewing the rundown. It's the greatest transfer portal pickup of all time. There's many names that I'm sure can be a part of that. So when you look at the stats, and I dissected certain games or whatever, Mendoza had a couple of 100 yards less passing, 33 touchdowns to 6 picks. Pavia, 27 touchdowns to 8 picks. Pavia had 9 rushing touchdowns, and I looked at Mendoza. He had 6. Both of them very good. Both of them have done something to programs that are not used to this atmosphere and altitude. Also, one other note about Mendoza, first undefeated season for Indiana in 80 years, broke a 37-game losing streak to Ohio State, and also the first Big Ten title in nearly 60 years. Here's what I remember. I don't like having the best player or the quarterback of the best team. And if that's the case, then say it, of course. That's why he's involved. I just remember certain moments, and Pavia had some of those too. It was a hard vote for me. But I did pick Mendoza. I thought the 3rd down and 7 or 8 late against Ohio State wasn't why I voted for him. But though the play, the throw, the 90 whatever yard drive it was against Penn State with no time much left on the clock, converting, 3rd and 28, the throw to Cooper, it was close for me. But I did take, both of them have done something with programs, like I said, not used to this. And then my ballot. Do you have that, Brandon? So my ballot was Mendoza 1, Diego Pavia 2, and I think both of you kind of agree whether you would have had him 3rd or whatever, but Jacob Rodriguez, the defensive stats that he put up weren't just a bunch of tackles. It was the turnovers, the forced turnovers. He was the heart and soul of a defense that also had other great players like David Bailey and et cetera. He also, to me, represents what's great about college football, but he could have had like 50 tackles. I wouldn't have voted for him. He's a great defensive player, and I've never been against a defensive guy getting attention when it comes to the Heisman.
Well, look, David Bailey and all those other guys came to his defense to play with him. Like, and a lot of that I know is money, but Jacob Rodriguez, set the tone for what that whole defense was. And as much as you have to, say, look, we've got to worry about this front four, the guy that they're all worried about because he is so hard to account for on every single play because he's got kind of carte blanche to freelance and react in Shieldwood's defense is Jacob Rodriguez. So when you ask me, who the best defensive players in the country are, Jacob Rodriguez is one of my top ones. Look, Caleb Downs got votes in this. I think he's in the top 10. He's 9th. I think the best football player in the whole country is Caleb Downs. Now, he's not going to probably have a lot of the stats that would get him to New York, but Jacob Rodriguez did have stats that get you to New York, where try to throw a little flare out to the tight end just to get 3 yards and not get sacked, and wonder if he's going to be at least making the tackle.
Well, I mean, he's had a great postseason. He's won the Nagurski, the Lombardi, and the Butkus already, so he's getting handsomely rewarded, and I think those only reaffirm my opinion that he should have been in New York. If he's cleaning up all the defensive hardware, then I think he's the best defensive player in the country as far as having gone and earned those accolades, and not just NFL draft type like Caleb Downs, who's not just that, but I'm just saying as far as if there's a defensive guy who's going to be there representing defensive players, it's the guy who's won like half the defensive awards already. So, again, I just think that was a shame that he wasn't involved. I looked at the vote total, and that's why I said earlier you could just as easily have left off Julian Sayin as you would have included Jacob Rodriguez. I mean, it would have been the same thing either way. So, not sure why they made the choice that they did there, because it wasn't like there was some huge gulf after number 4 to number 5. It was more like number 5 to number 6 was a huge gulf. But regardless, I mean, I think that's a fair top 3. As of last week, I would have had Pavia 1, but if you would have had me voted today, I would have switched to Mendoza based on how Pavia reacted, as we'll get to. And I don't know how much I would have debated like Jeremiah Love at number 3. Since I didn't have a vote, I didn't try to get too into the weeds on all of it outside of just who I would have voted for and who my runner-up would have been. But Jacob Rodriguez has left a hell of a legacy at Tech. He's a driving force and part of the heart of that machine that is hoping to go make some noise in the playoff. And he's a Red Raider Hall of Famer now, and will be that in short order officially, I'm sure. And I think even when you've got some really good players in that linebacking crew, it's going to be really difficult to replace some of these difference makers they've got on defense, starting with him next year. Now, you can go in the portal and get talented middle linebacker and all of that, but like, not a guy who loves Texas Tech as much as he does. Not a guy who's from the area like he is. Not a guy, like those are some of the things where if you're Texas Tech, yes, you can go spend and get 5 stars and bring them onto the defense every year. But I think it's like this group in particular of some of it was homemade, and then you added extra ingredients to it that is very unique to this team and why this team is special. And I don't know that you can just replicate that every year. So I think you really hold on dear and hope this season can last as long as possible if you're a Texas Tech fan. Obviously for the winning part of it, because you want to win the national title, but also because there's no guarantee you're ever going to have a group quite like this with a guy quite like this running your defense.
Yeah, and he had 43 more tackles than the next teammate. He accounted for 13 turnovers. Now think about that. You might have a guy that gets 6 or 8 picks. He caused 7 fumbles. He had 2 fumble recoveries, and then 4 picks, 11 tackles for losses he had. And just the story, the fact of what he was, that's my vote. Mendoza, Pavia, and Jacob Rodriguez.
I want to make something clear that you mentioned off. There's been, 4 consecutive transfers that have won the Heisman Trophy. And I said a little while ago that I don't know if this is a sign of the time. It's definitely a sign of the time as far as the transfer portal goes. I'm speaking to like Indiana winning a Heisman Trophy for the very first time because Caleb Williams didn't go to Indiana. He went to US freaking C. They already had some Heisman Trophy winners there. Jaden Daniels didn't go to like Iowa State. He went to LSU. They've got some Heisman Trophy winners there. But these last couple of years, I mean, Colorado had some Heisman history, but Travis Hunter was also coming from Jackson State, right? So I think for Mendoza to go from Cal to Indiana is a little bit different than going like a clear step up, so to speak, to like a bigger brand, like going Arizona State to LSU. Williams was sideways because the Oklahoma situation was unique there. But for it to be another transfer, that's definitely like that is a sign of the times that transfers are now winning 4 consecutive Heisman. But to do it at Indiana, like are we going to get used to seeing Colorado, Indiana, and those types of schools reeling off the Heisman winners on a regular basis? I'd be all for it, but I don't know if that'll be the case. But it has been very interesting to see that these last couple of years.
All right, thank you for those in the chat giving us even for several weeks, really, when we mentioned the Heisman, the odds, etc., and also reaction to the final vote.
I can't imagine what it's like to be an Indiana fan. I mean, to have really not much of substance, big picture nationally, conversationally, and then to all of a sudden just hit the lottery ticket of lottery tickets with your head coaching hire, and then hit the lottery ticket of bringing in Mendoza from Cal, and then him having the season that he's had and winning a Heisman Trophy, and hell, I mean, winning a Big Ten title and now maybe winning a national title. They get to sit back the opening weekend, obviously, and watch how it all goes. But what a story. What a movie in the making this will be one day. I'm wondering who will play like rugged old Kurt Signetti in the Hollywood movie. But I mean, my gosh, man, like they've written a storybook in a very short amount of time there in Bloomington, and they've got everything but the national title at this point. They've won the conference, they've won the Heisman, they've beaten a bunch of big teams. So still out there more for the taking, but what an incredible story the Indiana run has been. And I was somebody who kind of poo-pooed on it a little bit last year. I felt like maybe that was a little bit of a flash in the pan, that certainly they weren't going to be even better this year. And I was dead ass wrong about that. They are better this year, and they're so much better. They're winning Heisman trophies now on top of last year, in addition to doing everything they did plus a Big Ten title. So it's like, where does it stop? All the fun that they're having. I just think it's very cool for that fan base and a school that we really typically wouldn't acknowledge all that much. I think the most I talked about them up until 2 years ago was like Antoine Randall, and that was 20 years ago. So just amazing what Signetti's done and what the portal allows you to do as well.
Babe Laufenberg is the greatest Indiana football player, right? I mean, not just kidding. He was wearing a letter jacket, an Indiana letter jacket at the Cowboys game in the pregame. Here's what I think. You mentioned that where they're from. Indiana, Vanderbilt, and Texas Tech were among the top, 5? Think about that. Sayin from Ohio State, I mean, that he had a hell of a year too. 3 of the top 5 were from Indiana, Vanderbilt, and Texas Tech. Sign of the times. I think Caleb Downs, his stats were, he's a fantastic player. Maybe the number 1 pick of the draft, Paul. I agree with you on him. But there we are with my ballot. Now, then there's the post. Mendoza's interview, as you mentioned, was great. And then there was, and I didn't even know this was going on until all of a sudden it started showing up on my timeline. Diego Pavia, his post-Heisman Trophy, having fun and enjoying himself and, getting around friends who were like, hey, you got screwed on whatever else. What do we have here, Brandon? Go ahead and run the video. I think the first one is something to do with Indiana sucks or something like that. Or there we go. Yeah, be careful. He's out having a good time with friends and companions or whatever. He's a college kid, a little rough around the edges, but okay, there's the first one. Then there was also Pavia when he put up this graphic with his friends and family, brothers, etc. F all the voters, but family for life. I am not offended by that, and I'm a voter. So that was, first of all, he is not 6 feet tall.
No, he's 5'9". I know 5'9" when I see 5'9".
Yeah.
I'm jealous of 5'9".
Yeah, I know.
He's 5'9".
And hell of a player. Doesn't matter. But there was that one too. He then released a statement which you hope that he's the one that wrote it and not a PR firm or whatever, saying that he was sorry and he got caught up in it and he's all for Mando. But you did this. It's like that's what we do, right? We do something stupid, say something stupid, and then there's a release from, I'm sure, his agent, etc. Hey, you need to write this or we'll write it for you. And you need to say it's you. And maybe it is him. But he was having fun. It was unfortunate. If I would have seen this prior to the Heisman voting, that, by the way, it might have affected my vote one more notch. But there we are with Diego Pavia with a little, I guess, control of what happened with the PR.
Yeah, I mean, he also was next to a sign that said F Indiana. That was very much in clear view. So, yeah, I couldn't tell what that was where I'm sitting. But, yeah, he wrote a really long apology for the very few words that he said to set off a lot of people. And, I mean, the guy basically, as much as Dylan Raiola tries to mimic Mahomes, I mean, Pavia's got some mimicking of Manziel that he does on occasion, right? He's got some of that sort of attitude with him, kind of F the haters sort of mentality. And so I'm not shocked by his, I guess, reaction. I'm definitely not shocked that he was disappointed and probably heartbroken to not win the Heisman Trophy. But I was a little taken aback even for a guy like him to just be that outward with like F the voters, F Indiana, F this, F that, whatever. Yeah, I just thought it was a really bad look and really just kind of a clown reaction by a guy who I think already has a lot of doubts about what his future looks like in football. I don't think like this is like, well, he was going to go to the NFL and now after this, he's not going to go to the NFL. Like, I don't know what his NFL chances are to begin with. And I don't think this really affects those one way or the other. But I do think it puts him in a different light, maybe for some people who were indifferent about him that are now like, I'm glad your ass lost. Like, thank God you lost. Because, man, what an ass. what an ass reaction to a young man who carries himself in a really classy way and is like charmingly kind of nerdy as in the post-game interviews and is on a great team, a team that's better than yours and has carried himself well and is just as much deserving as you are. So I think to kind of take away from Mendoza, I understand being upset, but to lash out like he did, look, he's not 20, just fresh off the birthday cake, blowing out the candles. Like he's a grown ass man. He's got millions of dollars. He should know better. He's been in the spotlight for long enough now to know the PR way of things and to probably have known better than to send those messages. So TLDR, I'm happy for you or sorry that happened is my reaction to his long-ass post here. We got the gist of what you really felt like when you first reacted to it. I'm not going to like spend any more energy on it, but I just thought it was a really terrible reaction and a terrible look for Diego Pavia.
There are phones everywhere.
He set
and
up.
he knew
the phone. One of them was his phone.
Yeah.
One of them, I guess, was Theo Vaughn's phone, who he was out with. But when you show up to the event, turtleneck and chain, the night's going to get weird. I'll just say right now that whole look he had was going to be loud. I'm going to be noticed, and it's unfortunate that he went down that road. I mean, I don't care about it anymore. But yeah, I mean, if he had done it, if he had responded to this of Diego Pavia, not the favorite in Heisman, and said some things, they'd be like, well, now you're definitely not the favorite. I might ding you a couple spots because this is something you should just be eternally grateful for. I mean, if you get called to go to New York, that means that you are one of the most well thought of 3 or 4 college football players in the entire country. So just be happy. You should never go up. And he needs to learn from the great Susan Lucci. You don't go to award shows expecting to win. You hope to win, but if you expect to win, you're only going to wind up disappointed. And then, I mean, watch any of them. Like, you have to get your, gracious loser clap in there and be happy and move on. And then when somebody asks you, like, how did you feel about this other movie winning? You're like, oh, well, it was a great movie. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, hey, that was a fantastic film. We did one, and they won and they certainly deserve it. And then you move on. You don't say like, oh, this movie sucks.
I just can't remember the last time a Heisman runner-up, like, did anything where they like lashed out afterwards. And it's not like the world is ending or anything, but I just thought it was a really classless response. And I'm glad that he pretty quickly, I guess in a few hours, apologized and wrote all that stuff he wrote there. But yeah, it was just a bad error of judgment. And I'm kind of thankful now that he didn't win as a result of said reaction. So congrats to Fernando Mendoza. Did it with impressive play, but also carried himself really well off the field. And I think the Heisman Trust after Pavia's reaction was like, we made the right choice. I think that's the biggest takeaway I have is that the Heisman Trust already felt that way to begin with, but I just think that cemented that they made the right choice in calling his name and not Pavia or someone else's.
Yeah, and there's a note in the chat room from SJL+6. As a Heisman finalist, you shouldn't behave like a punk. They just flew you to New York. Pretty much everything is on them. It takes away from your performance this year. Agree, Craig. I think most of us agree with what he did afterwards. Listen, I am not going to be anybody that says you shouldn't go out and party, but he's not like the 17, 18, 20-year-old.
That's not
the way it is. Yeah.
He should know better.
He should. And, hey, be disappointed. It's also a look, Paul, you're talking about expecting to win. It's almost as if he truly thought it was a lock, which I never thought. Never knew who was going to win it, whether it was Mendoza or Pavia, or even maybe Jeremiah Love get involved.
I don't know who he could possibly have talked to that would have assured him that it was a lock in any way, shape, or form, because all signs last week were pointing to Mendoza winning that award. And when the votes came out, it wasn't even close. Like, it wasn't even a close runner-up. It was a distant second to Mendoza. So I don't know what the future holds for Pavia. I think he said in that statement, or maybe somewhere else, that he's getting ready for the bowl game, and that'll be his big farewell and send-off. He's been highly entertaining. He's been a unique character for college football, the type to make you love the sport. That was just a bad look for him, and he hopefully learns from it and moves on, and hopefully others who are watching that are younger in that position one day also learned a lesson as well of like how to handle if you don't win it. But that's all that needs to be said. You don't need to sit there and hang him from the telephone pole and yell and scream and throw rocks at him or anything. It's just, it was a bad look in the heat of the moment. He was disappointed, but you got to be better than that.
Here are some responses to Pavia from Southern Angler. Dem Pavia boys thought they were in Tony Montana's crew, came out Hannah Montana. Fatal Gator, initial reactions are who someone really is. Apologies later are just damage control.
I feel like that is true a lot of the time, and I do think that was a bit of his true colors shining through. I think he's been able to sort of manage that. What a lot of people who don't like him, and I waffle, kind of depending on what he's doing. Great player, highly entertaining, but kind of an ass, no doubt. Definitely a troll. Like,
part of his
definitely
strength is also his
it.
weakness.
Huh?
Part of his strength can also be his personality weakness.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it is, and so I do think he let a little bit of the true colors show too much there, and it bit him.
Smokey, I'm gonna when it comes to awards, I'll use this analogy since you'll follow along best. How many Oscar nominations does the greatest actor of all time, Denzel Washington, have?
Nominations. 5.
10. He has 10. Do you know how many wins he has?
1.
2. He won for Glory, Best Supporting Actor, and he won for Training Day, which he absolutely should have for both. But he also didn't win for of all the other ones he didn't win. He didn't win for the Hurricane, which most people thought he should have. And he didn't.
So he was 2 for 10.
He's 2 for 10.
And was thrilled when his name was called.
It's tough.
Yeah.
So, look, Pavia, you might win other awards, but holy cow, man, Denzel's won twice.
Yeah.
And he's been in Malcolm X and Fences and Flight and, you know.
I think the last thing I got to say on it, because we've spent enough time on him, but I think it just cemented kind of how people felt about him to begin with. And then I think for others who are hoping that maybe he's turned a little bit of corner, you're like, oh no, there's Diego. Like he couldn't help himself.
Where would the vote be, Craig or Paul, if the vote was taken today after the weekend, which of course it was after the Heisman Trophy?
I mean, more of an ass kicking than it already was. Yeah. I mean, Mendoza wins by even more than he already won by. It was pretty convincing, and I think he's a terrific choice that will represent them well. And I think I haven't seen enough of him to know if his awkwardness in the post game is kind of how he is all the time, but I think it'll play well in the Heisman House commercials, especially compared to some of the bigger personalities having Mendoza in there. Now, Pavia would have been great in the Heisman House commercials as well.
Oh, absolutely.
But they already got Johnny. They've got some guys who I think will be fun with Mendoza to see him in those commercials starting next year. And just, again, an incredible year for the Hoosiers.
All right, so there we are with that. And a lot of you still giving opinions on what you thought, and we appreciate that along the way. Let's see. I'm going to give these notes real quick. These are games that are coming up this week, and then we'll take a break. The FCS semifinals, Stephen F. Austin, by the way, my alma mater, got beaten by Montana. Pretty good game, but we're beating Montana State. Montana and Montana State in the semis, and Villanova playing Illinois State, who's the team that knocked off North Dakota State a couple of weeks ago. Harding and Ferris State in Division II, they're both 15, I think 13, 14, or 15-0. Harding runs the triple option.
Pick one, 13, 14, or 15-0.
They're 15-0. They're both 15-0.
Okay.
Harding a slight favorite. And then North Central against John Carroll, and Wisconsin River Falls against Johns Hopkins in the Division III, and Grandview playing Kaiser, in the NAIA championship game.
Well, I got to catch a little bit of the FCS, and I'm not a sicko to the point of where I know like all the ins and outs, and I'm not nearly as in depth with that as I am with just FBS. But it's fun to see that on this past weekend. It's fun to see a real playoff, where you like earn your way in and you have seeds and it all like makes sense, and there's not a committee that's like just going, no, you're in. And I know we teased you, but you're out.
It's too hard to figure out, Craig. Don't put it on. Don't put it on people with multiple college degrees.
Oh my God!
Right. Yeah. Well, it's cool to see that. And in the semifinals, Villanova is a 12 seed. So I guess if this was FBS, they'd just been told, no, you can't even play because we already know what your end result will look like. That's another difference between the FBS and the FCS. But,
you know who is, I think, on the staff at Villanova? Might be Dennis Polian or something like that. He's done some work with them. But
yeah, I really enjoyed watching a school I'd never heard of called SF Austin the other day. I really, are they in Austin? Is that where it is? Is it like,
did you see all the bitching on Twitter about that? About the naming?
When they were good in basketball, they would put SF Austin. And even last week, there was a campaign by the University, Nacogdoches, that said, please just put SFA or Stephen F. Austin, whatever, but not SF Austin. And they still,
I can't,
oh my God!
I can't wait to go find out what the SF stands for at this school in Austin.
San Francisco, Paul.
Well, here's a pretty amazing thing about the FCS is that Illinois State was not even a top 16 seed. They beat the 16 seed, beat number 1 North Dakota State 29-28, and then beat number 8 UC Davis. So they are an unranked seed in the semifinals, taking on the 12 seed. And on the other side, you've got Montana State, Montana, which ought to be a hellacious game. That's 2 versus 3. Right. So you think the winner from that's clearly the favorite to go win the national title.
And
but
Montana,
that's why you play the games.
Montana State won that first game. They played it. That's a rematch too.
So they'll play again. But that's why you play the games, because you don't just go like, no, they can't possibly win. They're this. They can't possibly win. Like, it's just cool to see a real playoff constructed like a real playoff, and just let the ball roll out and see what happens, and don't worry about like how many teams your conference has in the playoff or how you can rig it to best benefit you beforehand, or eliminate those who stand to make even a little bit of money that you stand to make. Like, it's just it's refreshing from that standpoint. The football can be hit or miss sometimes. It's definitely not watching Ohio State versus Texas, and watching a bunch of NFL guys all over the place, but it's got its charm, and it's got some fierce competition, and it was just cool to have some of that, as we only had the 1-2 bowl games this past weekend. So I like seeing the playoff go off in the background a little bit.
You do, and like that's all true about like you're not watching the NFL players play, but sometimes like that Ohio State Texas game wasn't really all that fun to watch.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, it wasn't like, and it wasn't. I don't mind defensive play games with like a lot of sacks or interceptions, or like it's defensive because you have all this. It was a lot of punts. It was just a lot of punts. It's the same when you watch an NFL game that's a lot of punts, and you're like, oh, these guys are supposed to be the best. Like, you can't not punt like at least one time. And so, and this is a credit to Ryan Day, and I mean this actually as a compliment. Your team is so good and so boring that when I turn them on to watch games that I think should be entertaining, they're not as entertaining as lesser teams.
Yeah, there's a different style that we're in certain places and certain regions.
But if I turned on Illinois State and North Dakota State the other night, I would watch one hell of a football game and probably enjoyed that more than I enjoyed the Ohio State-Michigan game, which at times I was like, is this game? It's just like, can you like.
By the way, Ferris State, who played there?
Trinidad Chambliss.
They're 15-0 again against Harding. That's also 15-0. So you're right. They were highly 1-2. They finished 1-2 to end the season before the playoffs began. So some teams that otherwise maybe you don't know too much about. Tarleton and SFA, both beaten in the last round of the playoffs. When we come back, what's going on with the Big 12 and private equity and Weatherford Capital and College Athletic Solutions and more? That and more. We'll have that. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco off the Brazos River. Baylor Club with a place that continues to be, they're still kind of working on the renovations. Most of it is done, but there are still some parts of it that they need to fix up. The menu's been fixed and changed. It was already really good, and of course they added new menu items for breakfast or brunch or lunch or dinner. Nick Caldwell, the general manager, is they have made that place. It's gorgeous. And now football season's over, but they still have many events, including a lot of holiday events. And let's say it's kind of late now. I mean, Christmas is just over a week, but you are looking to have a gathering. Maybe it's after the holidays. If you have some sort of event that you're going to host inside McLean Stadium at the Baylor Club, if you do it in the month of December, if you reserve a room or where you're going to be in December, you have some options, including decor or audiovisual additions at no cost to where you're going to be if you do that in the month of December. It's a great place. It's also a part of a club that you can go play golf around different parts of the country. It's the Baylor Club. Nick Caldwell, general manager, inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco.
I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. For details, go to GencoFCU.org.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
And then there is, of course, last week, the story that the University of Utah will be combining, or I guess in partnership with a private equity. There's a lot of different stories. In fact, part of it is that Utah will remain and retain all the majority ownership, decision-making, et cetera, of the brand's entertainment and more. And then it was, a day or two later when the Big 12 announced that, Ross Dellinger announced that the Big 12 is nearing a deal with Redbird and Weatherford Capital, run by former Florida State quarterback Drew Weatherford and his brothers, for a cash infusion as much as $500 million, the same number that Utah had, to schools, as well as striking strategic investment partnerships. And this was not the entire conference has to agree. The Big Ten, of course, had struggles with that, but everybody can by themselves, if they want to get into this, piecemeal, I guess you could say, can be a part of it. 2 schools, 9 schools, or all 16 schools.
Yeah, they can all opt in. I think they can get to $30 million early on in the deal. I have very mixed feelings on this. I do think that it is inevitable that we're headed down this path. I just hope that everybody's responsible with it. And I don't trust that when it comes to when you're throwing $500 million around. I think we saw this with the Big Ten. I don't think Tony Petitti was very responsible with it. I think he went and he found a place that said, we'll give you this much money. And he was just like, yeah, let's do it. And I don't like that. I don't like that, and a lot of this comes with strings. Maybe this is better. Maybe Drew Weatherford's group is more set up to do this because he does have a very keen understanding of how the college sports landscape works and then used to work and how it's going to work. He seems to be out in front of it a little bit, but then again, he's also seeking to make a buck off of it, which is fine. But how much are you invested in the Big 12 and how much are you invested in just Weatherford Capital and Redbird? That's just where I don't know where these things are headed. Now, Redbird has a ton of partnerships in sports. They own part of the Red Sox. They own part of Liverpool. They own part of a lot of things. So we'll see where this heads. But I'm not comfortable. I'm not uncomfortable. I'm nebulous right now.
All right. So when all this first, we brought up private equity, of course, you hear about Live Golf and things like that. And because people were starting to think this is all Saudi Arabian type money. That's not the case. These are American companies right here.
I mean, to the extent that we're aware of, I don't know what their other dealings are with. There's a lot of American companies that are as knee-deep with Saudi Arabia as any could possibly be, including TKO, which is a company that the Big 12 knows very well, that they've done some partnerships and some things with in the past. TKO is up to its eyeballs in Saudi money between the UFC and the WWE, which they own. And I don't know about that aspect of it or who's in what pot and what pot you're drawing from and all that. I would just assume that there's probably some crossover somewhere ultimately. But as far as this goes, the one thing I wondered about was, does this affect Utah's previous decision? Apparently it does not. Nope. But this is separate for Utah. And I immediately see anytime there's a story like this come across, a bunch of people who apparently are in the accounting world or in the financial world that immediately turn to telling people they're stupid. This isn't private equity. They don't really go on to explain what it actually is. It's private capital, but they don't really explain the differences. They just talk down to people, and that can be a frustrating part about this because it is very confusing. And if you didn't grow up learning specifics about finance and private capital and private equity, why the hell would you know what all this is? You were never meant to know what any of this is until it became the topic du jour in college sports these last couple of years because schools are so desperate for a cash infusion. And the Big 12 is certainly filled with schools who are trying to play catch up and who are trying to keep up with the Joneses and are trying to, quote unquote, close the gap as best as they possibly can. And so we've been dabbling with the story like this for a while, and to see it finally just push through, I guess is not shocking or surprising. I'm kind of like Paul. I don't know what to expect on the other side of it. I hear people say, and I see people say, well, it's not private equity. And they act like there's not going to be some want of a return at some point in time. And so I wonder then what is in it for Redbird Capital or for anybody else who's given this money, is it just out of the kindness of their heart that they decided that this third-ranked league in college football could really be something that it's not if we just give them a bunch of money for free? Like, that's not what's happening here. So what is the end goal for the private capital firms or the private equity firms or whatever the proper usage of the terms is? They want money. We know that. Like, how does the Big 12 take their money, go make more of it? And strategic investments will be part of it, but there's a lot of risk involved here as well. And so without being privy to all the details and how exactly this is going to work, it's hard to have too strong of an opinion other than I feel like you're letting a wolf in the chicken coop again. And I think that you guys are very well aware of it. You're not accidentally leaving the door unlocked. Now you're just inviting them in. And maybe they're nicer than we anticipate, and maybe we've got it all wrong, or maybe this is exactly what it is, and this is another death knell in what we knew college football to be. I'm not sure. I'll need to hear more as this starts to go further down the road, but it is very interesting to see because they backed away from it, and then you have that Utah news, and then 2 days later, boom, the whole league's available to do it. Now, as you said, it's opt-in. I'm very curious to see who wants the money and who doesn't. Like, does Texas Tech feel the need for this money, or has Cody Campbell and company got them set up well enough they don't need it? Does Utah need even more money after they just cut the deal they cut, or are they good? Is BYU good, or are they going to get involved in this? I would assume Iowa State's going to want money. I would assume K-State's going to want money. I would assume Baylor's going to want money. But that'll be something interesting to track, and I don't know how much we'll get that information either of like whether we'll be able to keep a scorecard or not, but yeah, man, it seems like it's a very calculated risk for whoever's going to take it on.
Here are some quotes from Drew Weatherford, who is the guy who runs Weatherford Capital. Again, a couple of brothers. This was in a podcast, in fact, on warchant.com, an FSU fan site. At the school level, I think we're still many, many years away from most schools selling equity. Now, this also was back during the summer. This isn't from the recent story. So I want to put the podcast was released, I think, over the weekend. It's arguably more important to have capital today than it's ever been. Of course, he's also selling what he does. And the stakes are way higher because if you don't win over the next 5 years when the Big 10, SEC, and Big 12 media deals come up, did not mention the ACC, there's going to be another reshuffle of all these schools, and you don't want to be on the outside looking in, so the stakes are really high.
Well, so he did mention the ACC because the ACC's deal's not coming up, and something we have not mentioned yet is that Drew Weatherford sits on the FSU Board of Trustees and was a large vocal factor behind the lawsuit. He's very vocal about FSU not being in the ACC. So he was very much part of that. And also because he sits on that board of trustees, FSU currently can't make this deal with Weatherford Capital Partners and all that because it would be against the law. So they don't have that right now. They'd have to do it with somebody else. So there are things that, like, all of this is in scope. And yeah, I agree with him. Like, if you're not, in the right spot when those deals come up, yeah, you might be left holding the bag.
Yeah, and so this isn't private equity as in they get like ownership stake. This is private capital. It's to help pay off debts, and there's the differences and where those lie. But I don't know what that means ultimately on how they get their money back or what, if any, say they have in certain things outside of recommending investments and whatnot. And I guess just my biggest thing, without getting too in the weeds on what I'm curious about, is just I said it's a calculated risk because I don't know that you can bank on anything that you're going to be able to repay $30 million in the next few. Like, maybe if you got it stowed away and you're like, we'll go crack that egg if we need to, so we know we've always got it. But like, it just seems like this could be biting off a little bit more than some teams can chew. And so I'm just very interested to see who pursues this and how they go about doing that and what that even looks like. I mean, and dude, like, here's my biggest thing. What is $30 million going to do? Like, so for this, so you get $30 million. So, okay, that works for the Big 12. They close the gap by like this much. Well, guess what the Big 10 and the SEC turn around and do? They go get their own, and guess they're going to get way more than $30 million. So then the gap only widens. Like, I don't see where this closes the gap at all.
You have to hope that they don't, because they don't want to sell equity in their conference, but the Big Ten's already pretty much pulled their pants down and begged for it. So it's not like that's where it is. You have to hope that they just don't, or whatever happens is after you've maybe closed the gap a little bit. But and the reason I would caution about where the money comes from and who and what, Smokey, you are the biggest golf fan in the world. I think you being a traditionalist PGA Tour guy like I am, the live golf thing really upset me because it was, it wasn't about working it out with a PGA. It was about sticking it to them. And how's that worked out for the live golfers outside of their personal wealth, which is gigantic? But
I think some of the guys who got a lot of money, whether it's Brooks Koepka or whoever, Mickelson's fine. He's their spokesperson.
Yeah.
But I do think there are probably, no one's ever told me this, but I have read enough stories about it. I think there's probably some players that took it that maybe even now look back on it, man, yeah, that was great. 50 million, 100 million, 300 million. But the juice, are you getting that adrenaline rush when you're paid, or you're getting that when you're winning tournaments that right now will be going to 4 rounds rather than just 3?
Well, and I think that eventually the Saudi investment fund is going to say, well, this didn't work the way we wanted it to, because it's not. I mean, like, there's no control over it. Like
that's why they have the new commissioner. That's why Tiger is involved, and among others, in trying to decide, is there ever going to be a merger? I don't think so.
So again, what are we waiting out in college football when it comes to the same situation? Like, where is it going? I think that's where, because you see like big private equity come into a thing, and then it works to some extent, it doesn't work to some extent, and then what's left in the aftermath?
Well, again, it's some of it's private equity, some of it's not. You keep saying private equity, this isn't private equity. This is capital, and again, that's where all the terms get jumbled. But I would say the big difference is they paid those golfers a salary to play in that league. Mm-hmm. They're loaning money to schools. Yeah. That's a vastly different thing than, hey, Tiger, we'll give you $50 million to come play here. No questions asked. You don't have to pay any of it back. You just get it regardless. Hey, Iowa State, we'll give you $30 million, but what do they want in return for that? Tiger just got his money because they wanted him, or not him, but Brooks Koepka got his money because they wanted his face to promote and to bring them TV ratings and all of that. That's totally different. They paid him and expected nothing in return other than hoping he boosted their product. I don't know what they're anticipating Iowa State or Kansas State or TCU or whoever's going to do for them with their $30 million if they take up to that amount. It's a calculated investment, but you just don't know what are they looking for as far as a return goes. How are teams going to use this money? You just spending it on NILs and for capital projects? Like, there's just a lot of unanswered questions, but I do think there's like this boogeyman term of private equity, private investment, and we all think of like the horror story, Wall Street types of I guess anecdotes, and that's your big fear here, is that they're going to come in, and once they can't turn a profit, they're just going to take every nut and bolt and cabinet and take everything and leave you empty. This clearly isn't that, but what is it? I don't think we really still even know. And does it really change much in the big picture? That's what I have a hard time foreseeing, is because, okay, if Iowa State takes the full amount, now they've got this burden of having to pay it back to some extent, I would imagine. But also, how much does it really close the gap for them? Like, are they suddenly Indiana winning Heisman trophies and being in the playoff and winning the Big 12? Probably not, right? So, like, I just don't know what it does for you, big picture, other than just allowing you to survive. And that's why my theory is, if this is just what the Big 12 is going to kind of have to do to try to keep their head above water, it's not a move that the Big Ten or the SEC necessarily have to make because of the money they already have. Not that they won't make it, but they're not in as much of a position of need as the Big 12 clearly is,
but
as we get into this new era.
Is discussing it. Yeah, so they need the money.
Yeah, like I said, they may very well get into it, but it's not as much of a need for them. Now, maybe for some schools it is, because they spent so much on coaching buyouts and all of that. It's not like it's all applicable, all the same across every single school. But there's just a lot of unanswered questions here, and it's a bit nerve-wracking, because you do think of the worst case scenario, and that is this: you're going to get a bad loan, and you're not going to pay it back the way you thought you could, and now your athletic department's in trouble. And that's like the big fear I think that people have with this. But does it have to be the big boogeyman? Not necessarily, but I don't think any of us, except for those financially trained well enough, are sure exactly what to make of this and how it works and operates in the space of college sports.
Even though Ohio State makes a bucket load of money, they still have debt.
Yeah,
they
stadiums,
facilities, revenue streams that they're, all the massive athletic budget, house settlement or not. There was the live golf. There was always this part about, let's say you got $100 million guaranteed. And then there were stories about, well, if you win a tournament, let's say in Bangladesh or Phoenix, and then it was worth $1 million, that went against the guaranteed money. An attorney at a lawsuit actually said that for live, but it's been poo-pooed by many that no, that money is not taken out of whatever you were guaranteed to leave the PGA Tour and join the live tour.
Yeah. And to follow that up, we have this tweet from Shannon Terry, who owns everything on 3 currently, and now Rivals again. He's a mogul in the college sports information business, but he was, the SBJ conference in Vegas was last week, this college sports business, and wealthy donors who drove early NIL roster value deals for athletes are growing tired at a record rate. Always thought to be a bridge, but donors are over it. Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti's stock is sliding over his handling and lack of transparency in the private equity deal. That's worth watching. I think a lot of people are, on Tony Petitti to deliver something, and he's not so far. And collective bargaining went from almost no chance to now a real possibility. It's becoming more of a now how to do it versus should it be done. And private equity isn't going away and will remain the top storyline in the business of college sports in 2026. And I think that part of the thing, the top line and the last line really tie together to me in an interesting way, because this is where that capital and equity and all that stuff is going to come in, is paying your roster. Because right now the donors are doing it live golf style, Craig, where basically they're giving money to a player and there's nothing in return but hoping that they win. Like they're
paying guys just to be freaking committed, and they sign elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And you go well, that's illegal. It's happening all over the place.
I spoke to a coach
all
today
over the place.
That they were paying a player to come to their school. He ended up going somewhere else, and they, I think, are still maybe even because of a guarantee paying him while he's getting money from said current school.
I don't know what kind of just backwards ass deal you signed up for where a guy could be uncommitted to you and now still pulling money from you. Like I don't know how that held up with any lawyers or anybody with a brain, mind you. But yeah, that's how far stretched out there. They're paying guys just to be committed, and they don't even sign with you. And yes, that's not supposed to be how it works. But as we know, it's college sports, so everybody's still finding ways to cheat. Part of this, Shannon Terry knows the business as well as anybody. I also kind of do hate that he gained so much from the business of college sports being as big of a topic as it is. I don't like the business of college sports necessarily myself, but I know it's not going anywhere to his point. And On3 will have tons of coverage on that like they do recruiting and everything. So if you don't like the business side, like we're about to enter probably the most business-like state of affairs that we've ever seen in the sports history. And that's not fun for me thinking ahead, but maybe I'll learn to love it. I don't know. But yeah, he's well tied in, and I can imagine that donors, even the wealthiest donors, it's not unlimited. It's not like the ATM never turns off. Like everybody's got their limit, and especially if you're not getting any return on it. So again, where does the return come from here with this $30 million if you take that amount? Like those are the things that we don't know about this for the Big 12. Those are the types of calculated risks you'll have to take and decide if you want to go that path or not. And so each school, I guess we'll see how transparent they are with whether they'll do it moving forward. But yeah, the Big Ten seems like there'll be another domino to follow pretty soon after that. And then we'll just be enveloped in it basically of PE, capital, however you want to refer to it.
Matt Brown from Extra Points, Craig and Paul, I think he's going to be a part of the show tomorrow because he's really good about FOIs as far as freedom of information. He said, one of the questions I've been asked over and over and over again, is this a good idea? And my honest to God answer is, I don't know, as he's doing more due diligence on that and probably joins us tomorrow.
And I don't think a lot of people who are pushing it forward even really know if it's a good idea or not. They're just doing what they have to do to survive today. Mm-hmm. And that's the scary part, is that not everybody's going to be having to account for this money 10 years down the line. They're just doing what they need to do to get the money for the roster they need right now or the coaching buyout they need right now, and we'll worry about the rest of it later. So, yeah, you better be taking care of your your business in-house. If I was an alum, I would be all over where my money's being spent and how it's being spent, and especially if the school I'm donating towards going the PE route or the private capital, whatever, I'd have an awful lot of questions. And while I don't love the fact that it appears this conversation will be going nowhere, to Shannon Terry's point there, I'd rather be talking about the transfer portal or things like that are crazy in their own way. I do at least like that he put in that part about the collective bargaining, because that's the answer, guys. That's the answer to unlocking all of the things they want to unlock as far as being able to have some set of rules. It's collective bargaining, and they don't want to do it. They refuse to do it, but they're going to have to do it. That's just the only way any of this stuff's ever going to get done. And the sooner they realize that, the sooner we'll better off be as fans, because they'll take the step that is necessary and a must to take, as opposed to trying to fight this and hope for some divine presidential intervention along the way, like they've been wondering and hoping and waiting for like 4 or 5 years now at this point, with no indication that it's anywhere close to happening. Collective bargaining is the short, straightforward route to all this, but I know it's the end of another era, and people are a little bit scared of that.
They begged, borrowed, and stole to get the SCORE Act passed, and all it took was the NFLPA meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus and saying, if you guys support this, we're going to cut your legs out from under you. Yeah. And they were like, you know what? Bad idea. Shouldn't have said it. I mean, so they are so far away on that. And the biggest thing, if you want the government to really help you and support you, you have to do it for them and then have them codify what you did. That's what you have to do. You can't go, hey, tell us what to do and we'll do it. They'll be like, yeah, we're not really in that business. Just do it.
How does it help me get
not.
more votes?
Yeah.
From Kay Watson in the chat, all of this makes me crazy. There are too many people hungry to be spreading this much support to college football. I love football. It's driving me. You're not the only one. There's a lot of us. I mean, even those who love it, who get massive revenues or not, it is like the Shannon Terry tweet. You saw like 4 things that have happened. It's all happening at one time.
No, I'm with you totally. And I think a lot of people are not even interested in this, or just it makes their head hurt. And I'm right there in that same boat with you. And that's why I cringe a little bit when I see Shannon Terry say this isn't going anywhere. And I understand that it's not. I wish it was. I wish it was going somewhere else. But until they figure out a solution, there's going to be all this maneuvering and wrangling and trying to best position everybody as best as they possibly can. And so this is the Big 12 trying to do that for its schools, and we'll see who takes them up on that offer or not, and who will then be in the bag to pay back $30 million or $15 million or whatever it is, and we'll see who doesn't, because they're well off enough. But yeah, it's like he did say, it's not going anywhere, unfortunately. It's a part of the game, at least for right now and for the foreseeable future.
Thank you to all of you in the chat so far throughout the first almost 2 hours of this show. Coming up around the corner, Phil Bennett will look at many things as the college football playoffs are about to launch. Tomorrow, I do think that we'll have our good friend Matt Brown on the show to kind of give us the latest of his information, and maybe even somebody that's an attorney, a law firm that handles private equity. We appreciate your time. Coming up, Phil Bennett. This is 365 Sports. Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340, east of 84 in Waco. And also what they have is the continuation of the Wrap Up the Year sales event. 2025 Ram 1500 Lone Star was 0% for 72 months, or 3.9% for 72 months, plus 10% below MSRP. And get $2,000 in holiday select inventory cash to use for whatever you want, including maybe Christmas gifts. Also, check out the 2025 Ram 2500s, all backed by the 10-year, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty, no payments for 90 days. So hurry up. Go see Ted Teague, the CEO and general manager at Allen Samuels in Waco, or David Gray, who handles the staff and the great people that help you get what you want when it comes to a car, truck, or SUV, and the financing you want too. Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SPORTS365 to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SPORTS365. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 and up. 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Here we go, this 5 o'clock hour, and it's Monday, and we have a few weeks left, of course, for the college football playoff game starting this weekend. Among more stories when it comes to the coaching carousel, our man, Phil Bennett, with us in that gorgeous backyard and beautiful place in College Station, the man cave outside kitchen and everything else in between. Phil, thank you very much for your time. Baylor today introduced Joe Klanderman as the new defensive coordinator. That story came out on Thursday. He was with Kleiman at North Dakota State. He was with Kleiman at K-State. We had a comment or two from him earlier today. What have you now in your coaching fraternity learned more about him?
One of the things, as I told you today in my text, in 23 and 24, really had great defensive years. I think this year, not quite as good because of personnel. But I think this is what all the guys that have worked with him, played against him, said he's very sound, said that has been really solid versus the run, and hopefully he'll keep maybe a couple of the guys in the secondary that he wants to bring someone, but they really like him. They think he has a good temperament of understanding where to stop things and how to stop them. So it looks like it could be a really good hire.
Coach, there are a lot of assistants moving around right now, and I'll wait until everybody kind of gets settled to ask you about some of the ones, just so we know. But what is it like in these 6 weeks of being an assistant? Like being a head coach, obviously hard enough, but being an assistant coach and having to rely on what is out there and how the people in the city you're living in feel about you. What is it like?
Paul, I've told every coach I've ever been around that if you get your feelings hurt easy, don't get into coaching. I can remember early on at Bay or anytime. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. There's people that are going to like you and people that think you should be fired. And because we're in a business that people have opinions, I only said if I don't ask you your opinion, I'm not really worried about what you think of me. Because I think there's guys, your peers, other people you coach with, what they say, that's important. This time of year, you also value a good coach's wife because it's hard on coaches' families, and everybody's got the answer. Hell, I'm 70 years old, Paul. I get daily 5-6 calls a day talking about what about this guy, what about that guy, and hiring. And it's ever changing.
Coach, did you cross paths much with Kyle Whittingham? We've had a rash of just kind of changes in the Big 12. It went from kind of quiet to then Chris Kleiman decides to retire, and then Matt Campbell leaves for Penn State, and now you got Kyle Whittingham, who's saying he's not retiring, but he will be replaced as expected by Morgan Scalley. So you come across either one of those guys, and just your thoughts on the end of an era for Utah and now the start of a new one as well.
I was fortunate enough, Craig, when I was at Pitt, we opened the season at Utah in a Labor Day game. It was a kickoff classic when they were really, really good. And we had an unbelievable game. I think it was either 2 or 3 overtimes, and they ended up beating us. And what I remember about it, Dave Wanstead didn't want to play in it, and the AD had planned it, sort of made him. And we got back to the airport, and our plane wasn't there. It was a night game. And so we spent the night in a 90-degree a plane hangar.
Yeah.
And Dave Wanstead, I had to keep Dave from jacking our AD. And there's a reason why he got fired after 9 wins that year. It wasn't because of wins and losses.
Well,
I think Kyle is the other thing. Let me say this: I played him when I was at Arizona State. He has kept good coaches. He has kept, Morgan has been there. He's kept his staff together. I think they had one down year last year, and I think he's ready for a new adventure.
Do you feel like he kind of left that window open, or maybe didn't close the circle? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He played at BYU. Everybody up there has got, who knows? You just don't know. And he was a defensive guy, defensive coordinator. And he was there with, what's our guy at Florida, left and went to Florida. He got the job. And he's a defensive guy. He might come back and want to be a defensive coordinator.
At BYU,
Urban Meyer. He
was Urban's defensive coordinator.
Oh, okay.
At Utah. Yeah.
Yeah. Phil, we do have games coming up this week. The playoff games start on Friday night? Friday night. There's one in College Station. One, are you going to go to it? And two, this is of all the potential matchups you could have kind of drawn up in the first round, Miami and A&M they're really close to each other talent-wise.
Very similar.
Yeah, very similar talent-wise. Scheme-wise, a little different. But how do you see this one playing out, and what's the key to the game for you?
First of all, I'm sort of disappointed. I am going to the game. Um, my wife's boss has a suite right on the 50, so I am going. It's supposed to be a beautiful day, but the game's at 11 a.m. I was hoping it would be a night game. But I think that just as you're saying, Paul, I think both of them have great receivers. They're fast on defense. They've had a couple of games they've broke down. I know Miami did not play well defensively against SMU or Louisville. I think a lot of Aggies, our players, they have Texas on their mind. And I think they want to, two things happen when you lose a game like the Texas game. You either let it eat you up or you look at it, you learn from it, and you get better. And I'm hoping, Mike, and I feel like they will, I feel like A&M will be ready to play.
I'm with you on the 11 a.m., especially with the other games that day. You got Oregon, James Madison's the night game. Ole Miss, Tulane, the rematch is the 2:30 game. So, yeah, I feel like Miami A&M should have been the headliner. How do you feel about the big conversation, though, around the likes of a Tulane, around the likes of a James Madison and their worthiness of being in this playoff? How do you kind of come to grips with that whole conversation?
I think we talked about it, Craig, last week.
Okay.
Let's be honest. They're not in the top 12. I mean, I think what we're headed to is a super conference, and I don't see Tulane or James Madison myself being in it. And I think it is obviously there's a fairness aspect that everybody wants, but let's be honest. Right now, there's nothing fair about what's going on in college football.
How many teams then? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Phil.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
There's nothing fair going on in college football. Yeah, you're right. It's dog eat dog. Now you have this deal with Weatherford Capital and Redbird, the Big 12 looking at a private equity type of agreement. Utah just had one. Do you have a headache thinking about that, or is this just where we are?
I was talking to a very well-known head coach, and he told me that if he would have known the last 3 years that he would have got out of it. He said, the calendar's messed up. Even though there's only going to be one transfer portal, he said these coaches have zero time off. And he said it is dog eat dog. We're involved with agents. Hell, I had 3 agents call me today. They're saying we're representing kids that I've coached. Hell, at North Texas. And it's crazy where it's at. And I just shake my head. I don't see it being able to be sustainable. And it's going to be interesting how they make this thing, I guess, more rounded and where everybody will have a chance.
Phil, the collective bargaining seems to be the thing that's going to be where the players are acknowledged to be employees in one way or another, and they negotiate and it's regulated. I would say that if I had told you 10 years ago that you were going to have to deal with collectively bargained people, you'd have rolled your eyes. But I bet you now you're like, if that makes it easier for the coaches, whatever it takes, right?
I think that's exactly what's got to happen because with the coaches, supposedly they're not involved with the pay or how it's set up. But let's be honest. If your name's on it and you need a quarterback or you need a wide receiver, you're going to be involved.
Yeah, I highly doubt a bunch of control freaks are suddenly like, yeah, just go get a player. I won't worry about how all that works, and we'll just do. Yeah, I don't think that's probably how most guys are operating. So yeah,
think about this, guys. 2 years ago, you never heard anybody in college be called a general manager. Nobody.
Right.
There was chief of staffs and there was football ops guys, but nobody was a general manager. And the money that they are spending, every team is getting rated. Sam and them at Incarnate Word, if they have a player just flashes, he's got 6 or 7 Power 4 offers. It's crazy.
Yeah, we're just talking about a scenario where there's guys who are getting paid just to be committed, and they still don't even end up signing with those schools, and they still get the money from where they were committed. It's just that's insane to me. I did want to ask you about the other playoff game.
another rematch, but this one a little bit juicier than Tulane Ole Miss. That Friday night game that gets this all started, Alabama and Oklahoma. Sooners sniped them down in Tuscaloosa a few weeks back. What do you see being different in round two? How much more difficult is it to beat a team a second time, as you always hear? And what do you expect from this game on Friday night?
I think number one, Craig, that Alabama's got something to prove. They took a lot of heat about getting, having the SEC pool to get in the playoffs. If you would have counted and not penalized for championship games, they wouldn't be in the playoffs as what they have it there. You would have both Miami and Notre Dame would be in. And I think we all agree on that. So I think they've got something to prove. I think that Oklahoma has struggled mightily on offense. I mean, they are hard to watch. The last game I watched at LSU actually should have beaten them. Now, the reason they didn't, they played lights out defense, and for them to have any kind of chance, they're going to have to play that way on Friday night, and they're going to have to get a bunch of turnovers and easy points for their offense, or Alabama's going to dictate the game.
Yeah, they have a great kicker, maybe the best in the country. They're going to have to figure out maybe a defensive flip the field turnover, they seem like they need to get like 9 points from their defense in some way.
One of the things, Mateer, early on, and I really was high on him. I watched him last year. I mean, he was hurt worse than we thought. Without question, nobody said it. He came back way too early, and it's going to be interesting. If they can tie it together, they're not shining the offensive coordinator star like they were the first 5 games.
Phil, bowl games, and some teams are not going to play them. My question for you, in the day of either old or the days of those who have a bowl game and they want to be there, what is the most valuable part? The practices, the experience, or the exposure?
All the above. All of it. Yeah, I think of the bowl games I played in. I know it. I mean, even the last bowl game at Baylor, I mean, our legacy was getting written on how we played against Boise. Because Boise went in there, and don't kid yourself, Harsin, they thought they were going to kick our ass, that we were a bunch of wounded animals and we were ready to end it. And that was so far from the truth. We had injuries there and had that bad run late. And we had got kids back, and we were united. Jim Grove and I have talked about this. I mean, that was the best bowl practices I've ever been around, because there was focus and there was purpose. And the atmosphere of the game and winning it, Matt Rule has told me time before, he said, I enjoyed it. I watched it. Matt had been hired. He said, I loved watching how y'all played that night when you played Boise. And so all the above. I think somehow with the calendar, they've got to make that work. The bowls, in my mind, are too legendary, and that we got to make that work.
Yeah, Phil, I mean, there's actually easier answers, I think, than they want to admit. It just means that they've got to tell some people that, some bowls are different than others. Some are essentially just money trains for the city that they're in. And some are, like the Fiesta Bowl, which is also money train, but it's also kind of a different thing because it's part of the CFP. They've got to just pretty to simplify this thing. And the one thing I think that bothers me about all this is that, and look, coaches agree to sit things because they have to and all, but at the end of the day, they're never in the same room all together with people. The coaches send a rule recommendation. They approve it or not at the higher levels, but the presidents and the ADs of the coaches are never in the same room together trying to figure these things out and build a calendar. And I think that would fix all of this, or most of it, if you just said, okay, let's do that.
I think there's a czar fixing to be on his way. And I do. I believe there's going to be a football czar. Don't know who it will be, but they will be representative of what you're talking about. It has to happen. Whether it's, like an NFL commissioner or whoever, but Roger Goodell, I mean, there's going to be a czar.
Yeah, and you just wonder, will we ever? You mentioned the Super League. My last question, and thank you, Coach. How many of the 64 plus Notre Dame, whatever it is, P4 schools out of that 64 or 65 will make it to the Super League?
You know, I think they're looking at, and I had someone that has been involved with this and tells me, he's guaranteeing me, he said there'll be 4 16-team leagues, and each league will have 2 divisions. And he said there will be, so that's the number it will be. And he said it will be a, whatever you want to call it, bowl championship league or the championship league. And then there's going to be the NCAA Power 5 league. And the NCAA will stay in charge of the Power 5s, and the championship league will be on its own. New rules, new setup, everything.
They had 4 conferences with 14 or 16 teams in 2 divisions. They can go backwards to what they had before, but we know that those days are gone.
You know what he explained to me, he even said it. He said, the Pac-12 is going to be back together. The Southwest Conference, whatever you want to call it, and the Big 8 will combine, the Southeast Conference and the ACC. And he said there will be 16 teams. And he said, now here's the thing. They talk about that you're going to play everybody. Only you'll play no Power 5s. Out of those 60, that group, that's what it will be. It'll be 64 teams.
Anything else, Paul? Craig, thank you very much. Appreciate it, man.
All right, guys.
We'll have you after the games, I guess, Monday, and we appreciate it. Thank you, Coach.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Coach was just out. His birthday was down in Florida the last time we spoke with him, and enjoying that beautiful weather in Florida.
Yeah, I think that you're misremembering. We didn't have that set up previously. Now we have that set up. We had 5 conferences.
We had 5 because the Pac-12.
Now we have 4 because, and they have 16 to 18 teams because of all the realignments. So no, what we had before was 5 conferences with 12 to 14 teams. Now we've got 4 with 18 to 20 teams. So that would actually apply better for, I guess, the setup he's talking about. Who did he say brought that up?
Just somebody.
Yeah. I mean, there's tons of speculation about where all this goes, and that's part of the fun, depending on what day it is, and also the aggravation depending on what day it is. I don't know what day it is today. I don't know how in the mood I am to speculate about the future playoff, but would that shock me at all? Like, it seems like they're doing everything they can to get their own rules. Obviously, realignment's played out the way to where you've got 4 leagues that are, I guess, on their own, even though some will argue there's 2 that are on their own, and then another 2, and then there's everybody else. And he is confused saying Power 5. He's meaning the non-Power 4.
No, the Power
obviously.
5 would be what is considered group of 5, 6, or whatever it is now.
I just think it comes down to, when you have the real conversation, when it's Sankey and Yormark and Petiti and Jim Phillips or whoever takes his place eventually, like whatever, when it's the P4 commissioners and they say, okay, listen, nobody's going to get their feelings hurt. This is what we're going to say. Do you guys want us to be involved in anything you do going forward? And then the P4 go, no. And then that's when it'll happen.
Yeah, I just have a hard time believing that Texas would willingly say, yeah, we're going to go link back up with Baylor and SMU and TCU as opposed to playing Auburn and Georgia. Well, and I mean, I don't believe that for a second unless they were so financially incentivized, and they already are. So what would you possibly be able to offer them?
I think, look, everything is as far as somebody needs them, right? So the reason that we have the playoff situation right now, the reason we have all this is because as it's constructed today, the P4 schools need the G6 schools to vote on the things that they want to do. So when the antitrust, the house settlement, they needed their money for the house settlement.
That still sucks.
Which is still, exactly.
Not the
and
settlement.
They needed their vote for the playoff. Well, if they just determine how do we have to set this up, the other 2 I don't think can go run and hide and successfully do what they want to do because there'll be too many people that are like, wait a minute, you're leaving too many people out of this. So they're going to need the other 2 to do what they really need to do. Now, does that mean there won't be casualties among all those 4 potentially? there will still probably be some casualties when it comes to that. But I do think that those four need each other to varying degrees at different times, just like they need the group of six right now. But the minute they figure out how not to need them, they will cut them loose.
The group of six doesn't have much say anymore when it comes to the
Big
playoff.
12 and the ACC don't have say anymore.
They really
as
don't.
far as
Not
the
really.
playoff goes.
It would be, how about just
no,
eight
not really.
conferences?
They don't. Like they can say what they want, but they don't have any actual decision making.
They have given it all of their clout, if whatever they had left. 8 conferences, 10 teams each. Everybody plays everybody. Then you go. All right. When we come back, we're going to spin the wheel. We'll have Paul's top 5. We'll also look at the quizzes from Andrew Belay and poll results as well. And this is 365 Sports. IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace. Dr. Rob Maxey and his partners with a business that gets, 2 answers for you. One of them is, let's say you've been going to I guess you could say it could be an orthopedic surgeon or you're just your family doctor. And there's something that really hurts, whether it's in your back or somewhere around your lower body because of your back, or it's a shoulder muscle or a ligament or a knee, whatever it is. Ideal MRI, state-of-the-art imaging machine will find it, locate it. Your doctor, of course, has to do the referral. And then he and you and anyone else will see what is there. It's fine. All right, then you start a different game plan. Or no, there's a ligament that's torn or something else, of course, that could be a muscle. And then also $497 or less every single time. Not anymore, $497 or less. That's the way it's been since they opened their doors up a decade ago. So you get a great deal when it comes, not deal, it sounds kind of, you get a great situation when it comes how much it's going to cost you, and you get the video, the evidence that you need from the machine, the state-of-the-art imaging machine at idealmri.com.
Hydration fast. Ditch the glitch with Liquid IV.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Hey guys, I'm Abby Dommett, 2023 CrossFit Games athlete, and I use Airwave because it helps me breathe easier and stay more relaxed during my workouts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very discreet.
As life goes on, it settles into patterns. But it doesn't have to go that way. You just have to do one thing. Get out of the house. Get out of your comfort zone. Leave room for the unexpected.
American Tourister.
What do you want?
What's that really good non-alcoholic beer I keep hearing about?
Do you have that really great non-alcoholic beer that I keep seeing?
You mean athletic? You're looking at it.
It's athletic. Ask for it.
I'm here to work out with you.
We did not put this little cookie cutter program together.
I'm in there with you, sweating, yelling, doing the damn thing.
Transformed by Core Home Fitness.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. You've just got a few days before Christmas shopping is done. Go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports. Let's talk landing spots for DJ Lagway, one of the top quarterbacks in the country coming out of high school in 2024. He just finished his true sophomore year, so he, at this time, has 3 years of eligibility left. And according to reports, he wants to go somewhere will improve his overall quarterback play in his draft stock, a la Jaden Daniels when he went to LSU or Bo Nix when he went to Oregon. So I've got 5 landing spots that I think do that for DJ Lagway, since he's not going to play for John Summerall and the new staff at Florida. Number 5, Indiana. Fernando Mendoza just won the Heisman Trophy. He's going to be one of the top picks in the draft this year, so they're going to have an opening for a veteran, and I think it's been proven out that Indiana can make you better right now with Curt Cignetti and staff. So if you want to go to a team that's pretty much loaded for bear winning-wise and think that you can get better, why not? Look, Cal was okay with Fernando Mendoza, but Indiana went over the top with him. So for all the things that you may think about DJ Lagway and the way he ended the season and his career at Florida with a ton of turnovers, that's all true about a lot of quarterbacks, and he was very highly touted. Would not be surprised to see Indiana jump in on this. Number 4, Louisville. They are the kings of the transfer portal quarterback. They, of course, have Miller Moss this year for better or for worse, but Jeff Brom is a great quarterback coach who can develop and put you into that next level. Tyler Shuck just won his 2nd game as a starter in a row for the Saints, and coming out of Texas Tech with all the injuries he had, I wouldn't have told you that Tyler Shuck was even going to be an NFL quarterback, much less a starter his first year in the league, and even as high as a 2nd-round draft pick that he was just last year. Number 3, Texas Tech. This one's complicated. Will Hammond is their quarterback of the future, but he did tear his ACL in the middle of the season. He is not going to be there for spring ball, and they don't know if he'll be there for fall practice. So you're going to need a quarterback anyway. You know they spin big. DJ Lagway is from Texas. It makes a lot of sense to me that he could plug in Lubbock and roll right along and be their quarterback. They've got to be in the market for a quarterback anyway, because in spring football, in late February, early March, they are not going to have a quarterback that is on the roster right now. Mitch Griffiths is the backup right now to Baron Morton. Both of them are out of eligibility, and Will Hammond will still be rehabbing his knee. So they'll have a lot of work to do there at quarterback, and I think DJ Lagway and Joey McGuire would really work well together. Number 2, Oregon. Look, you want to go where Bo Nix went? I would say LSU for DJ Lagway, but I think they have their sight set on someone else. Oregon. Now, yes, Will Stein is at Kentucky. He's not going to go to Kentucky. That's not going to really help him year one with Will Stein, plus they have Cutter Boley. Oregon will help you out, and Dante Moore likely to declare for the draft. If we're talking about today, we don't know if he's coming back or not, but it seems likely that Dante Moore will declare for the draft this year and head on to the next level. If that quarterback job is open, I would not be surprised to see him throw his name into the Oregon pool if they are, in fact, interested. And we know that they likely recruited him back when he was one of the top quarterbacks in the country. Number 1, Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham. America's best quarterback coach right now, Kenny Dillingham. Arizona State's a place where DJ Lagway can go. He can get better. He can potentially compete for a conference title. He's got a coach who kind of invested himself into the program and reiterated how much he wants to be there and how much that Arizona State means to him this week when rumors about the Michigan job and Kenny Dillingham popped up. If he goes to Arizona State and plays for Kenny Dillingham, I promise you his draft stock will go up from where it stands currently right now. And he's not draft eligible because he's just a true sophomore. One of the most talented quarterbacks you're going to see, but has had some up and down coaching and up and down moments in Gainesville in his 2 years. We'll see what happens, but I think Tempe should be the place. The carnival begins now.
Okay. Cannot see the wheel. We got to see the wheel. There we are.
Okay. What's one reality or game show you think you'd be good at? Whoa. Somebody's throwing some stuff around us.
I have no idea. I don't really watch any reality TV whatsoever. So I have no interest in that at all.
What about a game show, Craig?
I could do like Wheel of Fortune. I think I'd be pretty good at Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
What was the one that Family Feud?
You could do well at fit like
yeah. Of course, you'd have to have some people with you, but I mean, I kind of
like
like
if we went on the feud. If it was me,
I think
you, Craig, Andrew, Brandon, Garrett. If we need five people,
we have not mentioned Zach Burke, the lovely and talented.
Actually, Zach might be really good on the Family Feud with us.
I enjoy that. I was Richard Dawson, but I just enjoy that because man, there's panic when you think you have an answer and you freeze.
Yeah,
but I think we would all be pretty good at that because we are live all the time for 3 hours with things being thrown our way.
Yeah, I would really love a crack at the Amazing Race. I think I could do well. I think I could do very well at the Amazing Race. Going all over the world, doing tasks, figuring it out. I watch it all the time, and I know all the mistakes that people make. So I think I could avoid those. You got to have somebody you're not going to argue with, which would eliminate you and me immediately.
Yeah, we would not. We would be on opposite teams.
But I think I could do well. I think I don't get freaked out in new places. There's a lot of times like they'll send me to a place that's maybe not as developed, and the people who are maybe less well traveled are freaked out by it. I think I could do well. So I would love a crack at the Amazing Race. And it'd be fun. I'd like to meet
my
Phil.
dad once won on concentration.
That I wish concentration was still a game. I remember watching old ones. I love the Game Show Network. The one thing I lament about game shows now is that game shows are all hosted by actors and not game show hosts for the most part.
Like Wink Martindale.
Yeah, or Pat Sajak, and so they're all actors now. I wish it was still Pat Sajak and Alex Trebek and, the game show hosts. Who is the guy that Press Your Luck? I love Press Your Luck. No whammy, no whammy, no whammy. Stop. So that was a fun one. All right, let's go to our trivia questions today. Which NFL legend was famously photographed smoking a cigarette? Yeah, there we go. Yep, Len Dawson. Super Bowl one.
Great.
Oh,
maybe
sweet
top
cigarette.
I
top
think
5 greatest sideline pictures, if not the best ever.
Wasn't he also drinking a Fresca or like a soda?
Maybe.
Which you never
Did
would
you see in the background last night, the Cowboys-Vikings game, somebody has a still shot in those big equipment boxes they have in the background? There were 2 Miller Lite beers.
Wonder who that's for.
Probably Matt Eberflus.
Yeah, it probably needs to be for Matt Eberflus. Okay, next up. This decade saw the NFL debut the telestrator on national TV, changing how fans follow the game. 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s.
I'd be guessing here completely.
Craig, you got any guess at all?
Well, I only remember watching games from the 90s.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it's before that.
I've always known the telestrator from the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, so if it's in the 80s as well, I have no earthly idea of when that would have been enacted.
Madden coached until the end of the 70s, right? When he retired from the Raiders. Was the telestrator
was it a Monday Night Football innovation?
I don't know, but I'm thinking, was it for him to be able to do his thing? I'm going to say the 80s.
We'll have to take your word for it because
I'm
Craig and I have never lived in a world sans telestrator, so we don't know.
Right.
There we go.
I was right. Yeah. Yep.
John Madden. There we go.
I just felt like they did it for him to be able to just add more oomph.
1982.
Boom! Yeah, there we go. 82 was the year the 49ers, beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl. How about that?
While the technology had earlier roots in weather broadcasts and locals Bears games, the early 80s marked the moment it became a national football staple, allowing fans to see blocking schemes, routes, and tactics like never before. So, there you go.
Well, cool. Finally, at least weather has done something for the sports people.
Yeah.
Other than steal all our money.
All the money, all the TV time.
Yeah.
There's a there's a series finale on. Well, there's a 0% chance of rain, but we better break in to tell you about it. The glory hogs that are the weathermen.
Yeah. Can't stand them. Okay. Was Diego Pavia's immediate F all the voters justified by the moment? Yes, raw emotion is allowed 24%. No, athletes must stay composed 76%. Yeah, I don't think it was justified.
No, I don't think it was justified. I mean, you're allowed to have raw emotion, of course, but it's a matter of how you handle that and you disperse that raw emotion. And saying just F all this and F these people, I don't think that's just raw emotion. I think that's just being a clown and reacting badly to not winning something. So I like Diego Pavia. I said I would have voted him for Heisman if I had a vote. But, I did not like the way he handled that. So I guess amongst these two choices, I'm definitely more of athletes must stay composed. I think it's less must stay composed. Just handle it better.
Polite.
Yeah, just be polite and just be gracious in defeat. That's what it is.
We don't know when he would have been drafted or will be drafted in, what is it now, April or so? Still April? Yeah. But did this cost him anything? Or does he make more money? Because we're in the days of Jake Paul and things like that where he makes more.
Well, he might make more money doing other
celebrity
things.
Box? Or,
but I mean, he might make more money doing other things, like being on the Masked Singer or something. But he's a day 3 pick no matter what. I mean, he's not, unless somebody just decides, man, Diego Pavia is my guy.
Well, everyone thought he was not going to play Division I football either.
Yeah, I mean, but right now he's a day 3 pick because he's 5'9".
Yeah, there'll be of the 32 teams, there'll be like 18 of them that have him just completely checked off.
Yeah, they won't have him on the board.
Maybe
more. But there'll be some that like, you know what? We'll bring him in. Let's see how it goes. I think he'll be a professional football player. Which league that's in, I think, remains to be seen. All right, next poll. Which major program will land star quarterback DJ Lagway from the portal? Baylor, let's see. Number 1 would be LSU. He did tweet about it or retweet it. Lane Kiffin did. Tech at 27%, Miami at 22%, and Baylor, where his father played, at 17%. That is a lot of really optimistic Baylor fans.
I did not vote for Tech only because of the fact it does appear Brendan Sorsby will be there already. So not that they wouldn't want somebody else, but LSU, I said Miami. That's what I said.
I think Miami will go with somebody who's a little bit more like actually accomplished.
Yeah, I think Miami will probably go with somebody a bit more veteran and who's probably a one-and-done type of a guy like they've had the last couple of years. Seems more their route versus somebody who is still largely unproven. I don't think they're looking to get into, like, let's invest in DJ Lagway for 2 or 3 years game. That's not really what Miami's done. Texas Tech, I think, they probably got their eyes more on Brendan Sorsby, if anything. And then Baylor's on here because his dad went to school there, and that's the only reason why they're on here. But sure, I mean, I like the thing is I don't think he's getting promoted off of the Florida tape. I think he's like taking a step down, and so the only real step down here would be Baylor, honestly, with the way the other 3 are playing or have played as of late. So I don't think it's a 0% chance, but I'd probably go LSU, then Baylor in order, and then the other 2, I don't really see that for him right now.
No, that's why Arizona State was my number 1 on the. I think it's a great fit. I think Dillingham's kind of proven good with guys who are a bit wayward, and I think that's the best fit for him. Will they get it done financially, and does Kenny Dillingham want him? All those different things remain to be seen. But again, if I'm a quarterback in his exact situation, Arizona State is the best one for him. Whether they feel the same way, I guess we'll see.
624 people voting in that poll.
We have 2 super chats. We have some super chats we didn't get to.
Yes, we do. From Kim Coulter, SEC and but 10 schools all say the Big 12 sucks until they need a head coach or a quarterback. Well done.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I appreciate the $5, Kim, and your quarterbacks suck and they're not very good, but now they're here and now they're great. It's kind of how you'll see this all go this offseason, and that's to be expected at this point. But yeah, I think it's a league that had a lot of great coaches this past year, and it didn't really appear like you would see the dividends of that in the coaching carousel, but you eventually did there with Matt Campbell getting that big job and Kalani getting obviously the Penn State overtures, and then Dillingham I feel like is a guy who's a very much a rising star. I think the league's still in very good hands with the coaches, and I think the quarterbacks, I'm very intrigued. I mean, Sorsby, obviously not surprised to see him moving on, but possibly staying in the league. And then after that, I mean, I guess a lot of guys are graduating, really, like your Josh Hoovers, your Sawyer Robertsons, and those guys. So there's going to be a lot of turnover at the quarterback spot this year. It had its moments where it came close to being as touted as it should have been, but it also fell a little bit short as well.
Leavitt gets hurt.
Leavitt getting hurt didn't help.
Yeah, the chaos at Kansas State didn't hurt. The 4-game skid and the fact that Rocco Becht was playing in a shoulder harness for the back half of the season, I think that hurt. Obviously it hurt him. He was in a shoulder harness, but I think that kind of hurt the overall league as well. Is there another one? Okay.
Tim again. 1,000% fair, Craig.
I think if it's like our conversation off air, I think it's probably about just the investing in Arizona State. That's what they're going to have to do. And I think, I appreciate that, Kim. And that's just, if you're an Arizona State alum and you got money and you're wondering which you need to donate it to Kenny Dillingham if you want him to stick around, because that's going to be the deciding factor. He's shown all of the love, all of the hometown bonds and the closeness of family and all those things. But the one thing as a competitor that could get him out of that mindset would be to go up against teams every week where you have half the payroll that they do, and you can't compete because they're spending $1 million and you're spending $500,000. I mean, that's the case, I think, for any coach and anybody who's got a chance to move up or down the ladder. So he's a guy who's definitely on the way up, and I think Arizona State needs to reward him as much as they possibly can to ensure that he's that guy, not just now, but for a very, very long time to come, because the odds of them hitting another lottery ticket like some homegrown guy who's this good of a football coach that's willing to say, I'm not really interested in Michigan. I'm not really interested. Like, that's 1 in a million there. So they've got a golden ticket right now. They better take full advantage of it.
By the way, Phil Bennett said that, or Kim Coulter said Phil Bennett should be the college football czar. We at least know something would get done. And breaking news, TJ Finley is in the portal.
He wants a 7th year. Please make it stop.
LSU, Auburn, Texas State, Western Kentucky, and Tulane wavered, filling out a waiver for the NCAA for a 7th year of eligibility.
I'm sure he's a really nice young man. This is an absolute joke, and you need to move on at this point in time. I'm sorry, but this is ridiculous. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're looking for a 7th year in a 6th school. Go get a job. Go get a job. I'm sorry, man, but that's ridiculous. 6 schools in 7 years. How could you possibly even have more eligibility to even ask for at this point? I'm sure he's a really nice dude. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's not even more so go get a job then, if that's the case. I'm just trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. But this is not cool. This is not fun. This is not neat. This is just bad for college football.
Not going to help anybody.
And it doesn't help anybody in any way, shape, or form except for TJ Finley. So you got to do what you got to do, boo-boo. I get that. But my God, the college football world does not need 6-team, 7th-year quarterbacks hanging around the sport. That's just not good for anybody.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Brandon Rowe. Garrett's back tomorrow. Andrew Valade. Zach Burke is here today. And also, of course, to our great sponsors. We have 2 or 3 pretty good guests lined up for tomorrow, and maybe we'll get more insight and knowledge on what is going on with college football, private equity, and more. I'm David Smoak for Craig Smoak and for Paul Catalina.
Please hit that like and subscribe
button. Hit the like button and subscribe button. As we've gone past 70,000, let's go now to 75 and then more. Good night, 365 Sports.